Hello, my dudes, and welcome back to the Mike in the Press Pass podcast. I'm Mike.
I'm David.
And welcome to the podcast. So how's your week going?
You know, ups and downs, man. Strikes and gutters. Fucking tooth is rotting out of my head. I think I told you that already.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just bugging the fuck out of me now. It doesn't hurt, but like more of my filling fell out.
Yeah.
And it was funny because it happened while I was at work on the day that I was supposed to go to my dentist appointment. And I was like, I'm going to work and reschedule it.
Yeah.
Just a fucking piece of my tooth fell out. I was like, oh, gruesome. And I know it's not that much more, but it just feels like that much more. But, so there's that. You know, I had the anniversary with the old lady this week. So that was cool. Went to La Fondue.
So how's the situation with like the seating? Is it inside, outside?
Yeah, inside and outside, actually.
Okay.
They have both.
Yeah.
The menu is really limited, though. Like, we couldn't get, like, a lot of the things that we normally get. Like, basically, there's, like, two or three options on each course, as opposed to, like, normally you can mix and match. They'll have, like 3 categories of meat, you know, and you could be like, you just pick 2 from, like, each category, but instead it's just, like, these 4, or these 4, or whatever. And so it's like, you know, and then they did the mandatory tipping service charge thing, which I'm never a big fan of.
No. When it's mandatory, it's no longer a tip. You're just...
Yeah, I don't like it.
It's a service charge.
Yeah. To be fair, though, what really irks me is when they bake that into the bill, and then they still give you, like, a thing to sign for a tip.
Oh, fuck you.
And yeah, they didn't do that.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, like he did it right at the table, and he was like, here, and he was like, and he was like, you guys are all set. Have a good night. Right? And I was like, okay. And they had a 90-minute time limit too.
Okay. That's good.
I guess. I mean, normally it's like you're taking your time. It's like you take usually a couple of hours because it's like 3 courses. It's like a salad course, a cheese course, a meat course, and a dessert course. So it's a 4-course meal. And so, I mean, that was cool or whatever, but I don't know. The old lady has really been feeling that well the last few days, so that's no, not like that. Not like cold sick, just crummy in general.
It's the weather, man.
Maybe, I don't know. I doubt it, but you know, she just hasn't been feeling too hot, so you know, and then you know, so that was cool, I guess, the anniversary thing, and then we played your buddy's game. That was cool. It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
I chatted with him a little bit today.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I was like, hey, play tested your game last night. And he was like, oh, yeah, how'd it go? And I was like, yeah, needs work. Like, oh, okay, yeah. I cleared it with him. I was like, hey, if you're cool with me coming over, I just come over and just kind of run through all the stuff that we were talking about. And he was like, yeah, it sounds good. Really cool. I'm really excited to hear what you guys thought. I was like, yeah, it's a fun game. It's still been bugging me too, like what the name of the game is that I was trying to think of, the other arena game that was like similar to it. I can't remember the name of it for the life of me. I only played like once or twice. When I lived in Ann Arbor, we bought it, and yeah. But anyway, what about you? Anything new, exciting, excitement, new excitement?
New excitement? I guess like this. What? Oh, dang. This, you know, for the past 2 weeks, I've been on like a kind of a media blackout, like diet on social media. You know, all the shit's going around with elections. It's all trash.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't care. Just give me the results and we'll go from there.
That was my attitude.
Yeah. So with that, you know, I couldn't listen to a lot of podcasts. I wasn't like trying to avoid like the plague, but I just didn't have it in me to listen to that shit. So I just like went back into the Audible libraries and re-listened to Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules to Life. So that was nice to read or listen to.
That seems like a book that would lend itself to audio format nicely. Does he read it?
Yeah. I like his speaking voice.
So do I.
Yeah, a lot of people probably don't because he sounds like Kermit.
Yeah, well
actually, the postmodernist.
Here's the thing about that.
Yeah. So that was good. Just reread it. It was like, okay.
Yeah, like I said, I've never read that book. I just kind of like, I don't know. I leafed through it in the chapter titles and read like little snippets of each chapter.
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like I've just absorbed most of the content of the book just watching his lectures.
Yeah, he does. There's little pieces of it in his lectures, but
Yeah.
as a whole, like you have to read the piece as a whole, so it just makes a little more sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like consumed most of the content that Jordan Peterson has like on the internet at this point.
Yeah.
Like if you put something new out, then I'll like watch that, or he does a new talk show, or he like does a debate with somebody or something. Like I'll be hip to that. But like I'm pretty sure like I've consumed most of what he's put out there, and I'm on to like just watching his lectures from his class at this point. But,
yeah, I do enjoy those.
Yeah, actually, I think those are like the best things that I like watch that he does. It's like he's
because that format, because he's teaching people. They're in a classroom, so kind of it's more geared to like a lecture. You're taking it in.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is it doesn't feel like a lecture, at least not a real college lecture. It feels like a lecture you go see, like, oh, Hitchens is speaking tonight at the whatever auditorium.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get tickets and go, and there'll be a Q&A at the end. And I can get insulted by Hitch. It'll be awesome, right? So like, but yeah, so it's like, and like the students that don't really. There's none of that, like, is this going to be on the test?
Yeah.
Like, none of that. It's they're just, like, listening. It's like, oh, it's cool.
Kind of fun. Oh, fuck is bullshit.
Yeah. So
that was good. And again, delving deep into, not delving deep, but there's, like, other, I guess, Audible's doing, like, narrative podcasts now. And they have this great series called Heist. And Michael Caine, like, kind of narrates it. It's one of those cool pieces where
wait, he kind of narrates it, or he narrates it?
Well, he narrates it, but there's like talking heads.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like there's like sound effects, like going through the heist and all this shit, and they're having interviews with people that are actually part of the true crime stuff. First one was like the Diamond District in Antwerp, and one of the biggest robberies ever. Like people thought breaking into the diamond vault was like almost impossible. But these group of people just found out, like, very simple ways to break into the system.
They just watch Fifi like 10 times. They're like, I could do that. It's a good movie, by the way.
Never watched it.
It's a heist movie from the like French New Wave era, like early 60s. You probably know of it because it's like there's like 32 minutes of the movie. Like the whole portion of the heist plays out with no dialogue. So anyway. So you're basically like a 20 to 30 something white woman now, like true crime podcasts are like super popular among mid 20s to mid 30s white women now.
Yeah, true crime and murder. They like that shit. There is I do have to suggest, if you really like that kind of stuff, and it's somewhat entertaining because it's kind of out of my sphere of people that I interact with. But there's two women that have a podcast called. Oh, wait. No, I forgot it.
The Case Against Aziz Ansari. Which was funny because he did get Me Too, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, he did get Me Too.
Take that, Aziz Ansari.
Yeah, but it wasn't, My Favorite Murder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Just two gals in their living room talk about, like, true crime murders and stuff like that. So that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've ever listened to any true crime anything, which is weird because I used to really like to read like true crime, like narrative nonfiction essays.
Yeah.
They're interesting because they're, they play out like a mystery most of the time. And they're, like there's a really good one by Mark Bowden called A Case So Cold It's Blue. And however, though, I read some articles about this other journalist, which is all about fact-checking his article, and that read was actually better than his article, because so basically what it is it's like a court case, a cold case, and it's been like several years since the case, and, whatever. And so he covers all this stuff, and this gal is like, she's basically like the equivalent of someone like me. She's just like a beat reporter. Yeah. Right? And she covers courts in the town where he is doing this story. Okay. The case got national prominence or whatever, and he covered the story. But she was like the boots on the ground reporter. And like throughout most of like the crime, the arrest, the trial, arraignment, hearings, all that, like she was all like they're all along the way. And so she's reading his article, and she's like, I have some very basic questions for you, Mr. Bowden. Like, this doesn't jive. Where did you get this information? And she's just...
Shut up, kid.
And she's very polite about it, right? And but it's like this whole series of articles. It's called Fact-Checking Mark Bowden's Case So Cold It's Blue. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like this series of articles just kind of updating the reader as to like where everything is. And, and I have to say, after reading that series of articles, I don't really think he's a very good reporter anymore.
Okay.
But yeah, but stuff like that, you know.
What would you say he's like a better storyteller rather than reporter?
I think they go hand in hand. If you're purporting to do narrative nonfiction, then I think that you have to be accurate. I mean, this is the whole James Fry A Million Little Pieces argument, right? Where like he, you know, made that case after a bunch of people poked holes. Actually, the smoking gun was the first chink in his armor in that book, A Million Little Pieces. I'm sorry, the first snag in his. But they just pointed out like, yeah, this guy was never arrested in Miami, Florida. Whatever, we have the records.
Was that the Oprah dude? Mm-hmm. And then Oprah yelled at him.
Yeah. It was because the smoking gun basically like outed him and saying like, no, he has a drunk driving arrest like here like this one time, and here's the mugshot and booking information to show it. And then they just kind of poked holes in it, and then he kind of came back with like, well, you know, it's all about like a narrative story from a personal experience. And then it's like, yeah, dude, but they're verifiable facts, right? If you say I fell down the 42 steps of the Miami-Dade courthouse and busted my head open, and there are only 28 steps there, like that undermines what you're saying. Like, and if there's enough of that, it builds up. It doesn't matter what kind of story you're trying to tell. These verifiable facts aren't accurate, and that's basically what happens.
Sometimes it just takes that one little clue that's off, and a lot of people are like, what the fuck, what are you talking about? And they look more into it.
It just comes unraveled, right?
It kind of reminds me of the story with This American Life, where they're reporting on the work conditions at Foxconn, and this guy that went to China and supposedly talked to the people that work there. And one of the major things that popped up for a lot of people is like, I had a series of interviews with the people that work there, and I met them at a local Starbucks. And people are like, people there don't go to Starbucks because it's way over their pay grade.
Right.
So they would go to a tea house.
Right.
And after that, they just unraveled.
Yeah, it's simple things like that often happen. It's like, and what I really liked about this gal that was fact checking him, whatever you want to call it, is that she's a careful reader. So often writers will stylize things like, you know, they will stylize things in a certain way. And she's reading like, so where he's doing certain things as narrative devices, but he's stepping outside of his realm of authority of knowledge to do that. Like he says things like, she like, he's trying to paint the picture of like the crime, and she ran into the room, and the thought that was running through her head was like da 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 da. And so she's reading that, and she's like, how do you know what she was thinking? Did you obtain an interview with her? I tried repeatedly to try to get interviews with that witness and was unable to do so. So do you have some sort of access to information that I don't? Because I've read all the police reports and all of the case files, and nowhere in there does it say that she ever testified or told police what she was thinking in that moment. So I'm wondering how you got your hands on that information.
Shut up. You don't know anything.
Pretty much. And it was like dozens of things like that, dude, which were just like, if you're not reading carefully, it wouldn't occur to you to think, yeah, how does he know what she was thinking if he's not sourcing her as a source? Yeah. Right? And even then, that's kind of dubious to say what someone was thinking. All you really know is what they said they were thinking, which is a completely different story, because people will fabricate all kinds of bullshit, especially if they're embroiled in some sort of crime. You know, like he'll be like, oh yeah, I knew it wasn't real, so I wasn't afraid. And it's like, yeah, you knew it wasn't a real gun? Okay, buddy, whatever, right? Like, you learn to take that sort of information with a grain of salt and try to focus on concrete things that the reader can wrap their head around a little bit more. And the only time you verge into the, or foray into the subjective is when you're asking for someone's like emotional state, or when you're asking for someone's opinion on something, right? Because those are wholly subjective, and they don't need to be verified by an outside source. I think that such and such is an asshole doesn't really require, you can't verify that. It's not an objective fact, right? So you're just like, fine, I'll put that in there. Like, it's cool if it's relevant to the story. But yeah, I don't listen to I don't listen to things like that for whatever reason, but I guess it's a pretty popular genre these days.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies getting into the podcast game.
Yeah.
It's nice that women consume podcasts now. For a long time, it was just us mid-30s to mid-40s dudes.
Yeah, I think because the rise of like podcasts emerged during the right time for us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what 2004 or 5?
Yeah,
like
that's why you have to be in your like if you're in your mid-40s,
mm-hmm.
you're still young enough to not be like I don't know how to get on that internet and
Yeah.
like listen downloading stuff. I'm always worried I'm gonna get something right.
Yeah.
Like and so some sort of internet AIDS or something.
Yeah.
Right. People that are over say 47 or 48.
Yeah.
You know, unless they're
highly
like,
tech savvy,
or just let's just say they were early adopters, right?
Yeah,
like
sure.
my uncle, and he's way more tech savvy than I am, just because he's always been like kind of
mm-hmm.
an early adopter, for lack of a better word. And so yeah, if you're a Gen Xer and you're even in pushing 50, or maybe even in your mid 50s, then if you were an early adopter, you probably stayed up to pace. But most of the time, like 50 is kind of the cutoff, and then people that are younger really aren't interested in a lot of like long form content
mm-hmm.
a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So it's usually people like early 30s to like late 40s. And for the longest time it was just dudes. Like we were the ones consuming that shit.
Yeah.
And now it's like, younger gals are into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to see.
Yeah, usually there's like a developments of new media. It's usually the first wave to come by is usually highly technical people.
Mm-hmm.
Like tech podcasts, tech news podcasts were kind of like took over the landscape.
Mm-hmm.
Then it became enthusiasts with like movie reviews and all that stuff. Then the big money comes in from like not so much like Joe Rogan, but like bigger companies that can grab like ad money from different because they have like a cachet or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then now with that because like it's no longer new media, it's just media.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty interesting to witness that from the beginning and then it developing into that.
Yeah. Well, it's basically just taking a concept that's been around for the longest time. If you wanted to listen to that sort of content, it was like This American Life or Radiolab or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, now that has become more prevalent, more people can kind of replicate that formula, and you're start making the production of it easier.
Mm-hmm.
Is drawing in the people that are like have an artistic temperament,
Mm-hmm.
who would most likely never be. They would be. It would be a barrier for them to get involved in something like that because of the production.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't like I don't want to get into the they don't want to do what you do for the podcast here. They want to be like me. They just want to like I would talk.
Just turn it on and
it'd be cool if I could do that, but I'm not going to go through all the hassle. But like the easier that becomes, the more it's like less of a barrier, and so you get people that are more creatively inclined, and usually that's when you get more interesting long form stuff is from people that have some sort of creative temperament. So.
Yeah, that's where you get kind of guys like Joe Rogan, where they can just their interests are very wide and varying,
mm-hmm.
and he just talks to anybody, and then
Yeah.
he does probably the longest, not the longest, but a very long form. He introduced the long form podcast, really. Like that was kind of unheard of to have a 3-hour podcast. People are like, why don't you just make it like 10 minutes?
10 minutes.
It's like what?
Yeah, because as it turns out, because he's brought to the forefront kind of the art of a conversation,
mm-hmm.
and like actually peeling away some layers of stuff,
mm-hmm.
and that's good. Especially if you have a wide variety of guests and people that have a variety of interests.
Yeah,
some people are way more interesting than others.
Yeah,
and sometimes it's I don't know. Sometimes
then you get Kanye, and it's fucking just a mouth of diarrhea, just bleh. I couldn't even listen to the first minute. I was like,
I didn't even.
I'm
try.
not even gonna watch it.
I didn't even try.
Watching like the clips from on YouTube, I was like, I'm not listening to this.
Yeah, but then like Roy Jones Jr. on, it's like soothing.
Yeah, that's why I don't know about Roy Jones. Is gonna fuck him up.
He's gonna fuck him up. You know what I'm saying? You understand me? Yes, I do. But anyway, so that's cool. So you've been listening to some of that shit. Business.
Yep, a lot more storytelling stuff, I guess you'd say. And finally hit that thing where the honeymoon phase for me on Saturday mornings is kind of over now. It was like a really good run of really good customers. Had a pleasant time, and just like a slew, not a slew, just like 2 or 3 bad customers. I'm like, you fucking kidding me? There's guys like coming in the shop. I'm eating breakfast, have my cup of coffee. This guy just barges in. I'm like, wait, we're not open yet. Yeah, I just need to get something really quick. And he just walks into the humidor. I'm like, all right. And he's turning all these fucking switches on. I'm like, dude.
Switches?
There's, the switch to walk into the humidor?
The light switch?
It's not a light switch. It's just nothing now. It's not connected to anything.
Oh, but it used to be the fan switch.
Yeah, and he's like flipping it on and off. I was like, could you stop? Okay, we just need to get something real quick. I know where to get it. I was like, all right, calm down. Turn on the light. And I have to go to the register, count the fucking money out, all this stuff. And it's like rushing me.
Yeah.
But in that fashion, it was like, I'm just jovial, but it's like, you need to calm down. Yeah.
Like, it's cool, bro.
Yeah, and the whole point...
To be fair, it's a rookie mistake on you not locking the door. I've learned this lesson the fucking hard way because of shit like that.
That is true.
Always lock the door.
Yeah, but there's a couple things that happened where House Cat, he was at the front gate waiting out there. It's like, have you been here all morning or like overnight? He's like, no, guys are dropping off wood. And I asked the guys if they can leave the door or the gate open. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's fine.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
And then the gate was open. They're hauling off wood to the side. House Cat's there. I was like, you can come inside if you want to. So that's why I kind of left the door open.
Oh, okay.
And the guy just barges in. And he asked me, so are you the owner of this place? I'm like, no, I'm not. I just work here. Oh, yeah, you're really rude. I'm like, I'm rude? I'm rude? You're the guy who just barged in here.
Yeah, right?
And then, like, I saw it click in his head, like, oh, yeah, it's kind of fucked up. I was like, I got my cigar. I hope you have a good day. I was like, yeah, have a good day. Bye.
Fucking knucklehead.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
like, I'm the dickhead?
Yeah.
All right, so whatever. And then there's a bunch of guys that were just difficult to work with. Like, guy comes in, stands at the door. Well, come in. Yeah, I want to get a cigar. I'm going to have whiskey with it. Okay.
Okay.
Do you know what kind of cigar you would like to have? Just a cigar that goes well with whiskey.
What kind of whiskey?
And I asked him, I was like, sometimes mixed drinks, whiskey.
This one's the best.
Yeah. I basically did that. I was like, this is good. This is probably the best one to match with whiskey.
Yeah. You know what also works really well?
Uh-huh.
Is just...
Is this good? It's the best.
Like, if you don't want to give them a really simple answer...
Yeah.
Just fucking inundate them with like basically act like it's like if they're being a jerk, just act like the concept of pairing it is so far over their fucking head that they just be like, well, that depends on a variety of factors. Do you want something that complements or contrasts the flavor of the whiskey? Do you want the whiskey in the forefront or do you want the cigar in the forefront? Do you want something to mellow out? Are you looking to have a dram of whiskey or a couple of drinks? And if so, do you want the cigar to last the entirety of one drink or several drinks, because that'll play into the progression of the smoke and of the whiskey, and depending on whether you want contrast or complement and whiskey or cigar in the forefront, then you need to select something of length accordingly. And they're just like, you know what, never mind, I'm just gonna get this one. And you're like, okay, cool.
Cool, man.
Yep. Like, I've done that so many times to people, like, especially if they like, because I am not the person to ask like what to pair.
Yeah.
Right? People will be like, oh, well, like, what's a good cigar for, like, a single malt, like, 12-year scotch? And I'm like, drink coffee. Don't drink that. Drink coffee with your cigar.
Yeah.
Or water.
Yeah.
Like, those are the best things.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't fucking know. Right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't pair things. Right? I just don't.
Yeah.
Right? Generally speaking, it's just whatever. Fine.
Yeah.
And so that I just, like, sometimes I'll just fucking just give them a dump truck of shit like that,
Yeah.
and they won't know how to process it or answer the questions, and so they'll just be like, oh, I'll be good.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, all right, leave me alone.
And then I met this guy has been coming like every week, every other week, and this guy's just a fucking tool. He comes in, drives in like a brand new Escalade, bumps hella loud ass music coming in, comes in. He has like those shitty like jeans with designs on them. And it's like the gaudy big ass
like
watches.
the New Religion jeans.
Yeah, and big ass watches and shit like that. And he buys the fucking cheapest cigars ever. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
It's all just a show. And it's like he's like asking all this stuff, like, yeah, what's a good one? But is that like under like $5?
No.
I was like, no, you're not gonna get that. Oh.
In Fremont, you're not allowed to sell cigars for under $5.
Oh, really?
Yep. And that's what I tell people. They come in and they say, no, it's actually true though.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, you can't sell cigars for under $5.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I think it's a city of Fremont, but it might be just a county regulation. I'm not sure.
Oh.
But yeah, people just come in like, all right, what do you got for like $2 or $3? Nothing. Can't sell anything for under $5.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I have these, and these under $5, and that's it.
Yeah.
Everything else is more than that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, the bad part about having like selling like really cheap cigars is that it attracts those people that just use up a lot of resources for a shop, and they spend a ton of time, and then they're spending 1/5 the price of a normal cigar smoker. Yep. And they seem to be like the biggest hassle ever too. Yeah.
Yeah, and unlike and it seems to be a unique to cigar smoker phenomenon because generally speaking, pipe smokers are fucking poison for a shop because they spend no money.
Yeah.
Like every once in a while they'll buy an ounce of tobacco.
They cause the biggest mess.
Yeah. But in general, they cause a mess, but they generally, like, at least from my experience, they stay the fuck out of your hair. You know, they just kind of do their own thing because they're likely to be the only pipe smoker in the shop. They just kind of like do their own thing, and they create a lot of clutter around them.
Yeah.
And so you got to pick up after them, but they don't do things like waste your time or like, you know, fucking take giant jumps in the bathroom and fucking like you got to clean up after them. It's fucking the worst, right? But it's like cheap cigar smokers, the people that want dirt cheap cigars, and then they want to like, I don't know, like act like they just
the full service.
They just gave you like $1,000 or something.
Yeah,
like,
they act like calm down, guy. Here.
Yeah.
I bought 5 cigars. Yeah, but it was like $15.
Yeah.
So who cares?
It's like you're just I bought 5 cigars. It's like
we appreciate your business, kinda, but not really.
Just because you're in the way that McDonald's appreciate your business, they can really make that big of a dent. But sure, it all adds up, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like it's just it's like the best people are the people that just come in and like I'll take these 8 Padrones and these 8 Opus X's and here's money and like see you in like a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great customer.
Yeah. No problem.
Yep.
They know what they want. They don't really give a shit. And that's fine.
Yep. As a general rule, like that's how it goes. But yeah, I don't envy that. But yeah, it's you gotta lock the door, man.
Yeah, that's a number. Yeah, and also think about too. Lock the door and like go outside. I'm not open yet. I should have just done that. But just him barging in caught me off guard because I was like had the sandwich in my hand and a coffee in here. Like, what? Yeah, we're not. All right.
Yeah, that literally happened to me here one time when I was having coffee, and I got here a little early, and I finished opening because I had got what happened was I had closed the night before, and I used to do like close the night before, and I would do like almost all of my opening stuff.
Yeah.
For the next morning, and then I got there like I forgot, and so I came in at the normal time that I come in, and I was like, well, everything is done. I just counted the register. It took me like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I'm just gonna have a cup of coffee. We don't open for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there having a cup of coffee, and like I thought I locked I think what happened is I locked the handle of the door, but the door didn't like latch. And so like this guy comes in, and he's just like, yeah, hey, are you open? And I'm like, no, we don't open for like 30 minutes. So, well, I'm just going to grab some stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I can't stop you, right? Like, he's like, yeah, I'm just going to grab some stuff. He's like, it doesn't look like the light's on in there. I'm like, yeah, it's because we're not open yet. And he's like, well, can I turn a light on? And I'm like, no. No. And he's like, well, how long till you open? I'm like, well, I'm going to finish this cup of coffee. And if 10 o'clock comes before that, then I'll open at 10. And
you can watch me drink this coffee. Right.
And he was just like, he's like, all right. So he went in there. He's like, you know what? Actually, so he got some stuff out in the main humidor. He's like, I'll just get these. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, just standing there at the counter. And I'm just like sitting there drinking my coffee, like reading my book.
Yeah.
And he's just like, well, hey, like, are you going to like ring me up? And I was like, we don't open till 10 o'clock, dude.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, but the door was open. I'm like, yeah, but the open sign is off. The lights are off. And
our business hours
we open at 10 o'clock. I was like, it's clearly posted. Like, he's like, well, can't you just ring me up? And I'm like, And this is what I do when I don't want to deal with people. I'm like, dude, the register just, like, it won't even unlock until 10 o'clock. Like, I literally can't make transactions before we open. Like, it just opens. I can't do that. It won't let me in. I don't have the administrative override. And he was like, oh, all right. He's like, all right. Well, what are you smoking on this morning? He sat down. And then, like, he sat down with me when I was drinking my coffee. And he started chatting me up. And, like, he ended up being a pretty cool guy, so I did end up bringing him up a little bit early.
Oh, guess what? It unlocked right now. What do you know?
I don't know. The owner must have been in the system doing something. I don't know.
I should just say that. It's like, it's illegal for me to sell cigars before 10. I'm sorry, it's a city rule.
The system won't let me in. It's like, that's what I do when, like, I always count out the register last thing on my shift.
Yeah.
I mean, typically that's what most people do. It's the last thing you do, right? You count out the register. And sometimes people will come in, like, I'll be bringing furniture in and, like, finishing up. And, like, what'll happen sometimes is, like, I'll be done with almost everything. And someone will still be in the bathroom. So I can't lock the door because they're going to have to get out. So I just have to unlock the door for them to get out. And so in the time that someone's in the bathroom, and, like, before I lock that door, I'll flip the closed sign over, turn the closed sign off, like, all, you know, the main lights. There's, like, 2 sets of lights. So, like, I shut the big overhead lights off to kind of signify, and then the ones in the back are all shut off. It's just like the house lights, you know, like the dimmer lights or whatever. And, like, yeah, inevitably, if I don't lock that door while someone is in there for 35 seconds taking a piss, someone will slink in and they'll be like looking around. Like, they won't even be like, hey, are you open? They'll just come in and start, like, looking around. And I'll have to be like, hey, I'm closed. It's like, oh, well, I just want to grab something really quick. I'm like, yeah, I close at 6.
Closed.
Yeah, I close at 6.
Yeah.
And then they'll look like, I'm like, that's 6:04.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I just want to grab something really quick. And I'll just be like, the register is closed. I can't put more money or do any transactions after I close the register.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, man. And they just leave.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want me? I can't do it. I'm just not allowed. I'm just, well, that's
my hands are cuffed, man.
Well, that's the thing, man. If you want to play the fucking game where it's like, you don't care what time we close. That's just,
come on.
You're just shitting on me like some plebe.
Yeah.
Right? And if you want to play that game, I'll just play the I'm a plebe and I have no authority to help you.
Yeah.
Right? I can't do it. Like, once that clock strikes 6 o'clock, the register just locks up and I can't even get in it anymore. Like, they don't even trust me to do business after that hour. Like, I'm just too dumb to like understand like what time we I can't process. My little hamster wheel brain is just too comprehend like what, you know, I don't know, like I don't tell time very well. Yeah. So like, it just won't let me. It just won't let me do it.
Oh.
So you want to play that game? We can play that game.
Okay, bye.
Like, yep. I had a guy come back the next week and told me that he was the guy that, oh yeah, like, you guys close at 6, right? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I came. It sounded like I didn't mean to sound like I was being a dick, but in retrospect, it sounded like I was being a dick, even though I didn't mean to. Because he was like, hey, you guys close at 6, right? It was like 5:45.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, we close at 6. And he was like, yeah, I was the guy that came at like a few minutes after 6 last week. And then I just said, okay, so you know what time we close then. Yeah. Why did you ask me?
Yeah, fucking genius.
And then I didn't mean to sound like asinine about it, but like in retrospect, I was like, I didn't affect that tone exactly. I was like, so you know, why did you ask? Like, okay, it's kind of a dick thing to say, but I didn't be like,
we close at midnight. Midnight?
What did I just say?
Yeah, I just said midnight.
Yeah. Anyway, so the honeymoon period's over then.
Well, at least, yeah, that just ruined it. I was like, fuck.
Trying to eat your egg movie muffin and you didn't fucking jerk.
Yeah, because you look forward to that time, that a half hour to an hour where no one's in the shop.
Yeah.
And you're like,
coffee, cigar, reading time. Yeah. Before it's like I gotta do stuff. That's why Saturdays are great, because there's no shipments on Saturdays.
Yeah, I did notice that.
And that's nice. So it's like, until it starts to get kind of busy, once you come in and fill the humidors and count the register in and clean shit up and whatever you got to do, like that only takes about an hour, and you usually get there a half an hour early. So, you know, 30 minutes after open, no customers, and it's like, fucking hang out.
Yeah.
Convalesce.
Yeah, it's like, when opening time happens, you have all my attention. Most of my attention, let's say that much. So I have no problem at answering questions, getting stuff on shelves or whatever, and that's fine. But when you're just barging in, it's like, whoa, hey, man.
Yeah, I agree. It's just like that's the funny thing is like I would always be quiet on Saturdays, and there'd be some people hanging out. You know, like a few people would be like Adam Gervin or Ted Faravelli, like just people hang out in the shop, and they'd need something. And I'd just be hanging out talking to him, and I get up and like, oh, I don't know, like, you don't gotta get up, man. Like, I'm trying, you know, like, you're having your coffee or whatever. I'm like, dude, I'm literally just sitting here. It's my job to help you.
Yeah.
like, that's fine. You're
It's
not
not
like
we're hanging out.
right. It's
I'm
not like
working.
It's not like I'm in the middle of lunch or something. Like,
Yeah.
I could see that, but like, no, it's like it's not an imposition.
Yeah.
But it's like those people are the people that are cool and like you don't mind helping, and then the people that are just like, why do I have to wait for this? It's because I have 4 customers ahead of you, asshole.
Yeah.
Like, why are you mad at me because this guy has 1,000 questions? What am I supposed to say? He's like, well, what about this? Like, yeah, can you fucking wrap it up here, pal? This guy obviously needs to get out of here.
Yeah.
So can you just save your stupid noob questions for someone else and just fucking pick something so I can help the other people already? Like, what is that what I'm supposed to say?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, give me a break. It's not
What do you want me to do?
right. Like, I get it. Like, especially if the guy that's like at the front of the line that's like taking up a bunch of your time, you think that he would recognize that there are people behind him.
Some people are just so blind to that.
And like, yeah, some people will just be like, hey man, like, I'll just browse around. You just like go ahead and help these people. When you got a minute, come help me.
Yeah.
And you're like, cool, great. But like some people will be, what about this one? And what about that? And like, what makes it different than this one?
Yeah.
And you're just like, dude, there are 4 people behind you. 2 of which just want a soda, right? Like,
Yeah.
can you just fucking hurry it up?
Yeah, they take their sweet ass time about stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're just trying to like torture people. It just seems like it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's
Yeah.
like it just dealing with enough of those people just makes it just like, man, like every time I try to go in anywhere, cigar shop or coffee shop or anything, I just try to just be.
Oh,
I was-
like,
yeah, I was
all I
explaining this. I was explaining this to Adam a while ago because he was talking about. We were talking about tipping, and like he tips at the cigar shop. He's like, oh, I usually tip at Starbucks. And he's like, why? So making a coffee, it's easy. I'm like, well, helping you pick a cigar is easy too, but like, he's like, well, but like, it's not like it's. I don't know. I think it's like cigar stuff is more complicated than. I'm like, but here's the thing: is you don't realize, man, is that the people that are the biggest fucking pain in the ass to deal with are the people that never ever tip you.
Yeah.
And so,
Oh yeah.
what you're doing when you tip your barista is you should do 2 things. 1, try to be as minimal of a headache as possible. And 2, tip them for all those other assholes who take up all their time and are really obnoxious to them and don't tip them. You're just paying the asshole tax for other people because you want to come in here and you want them to know that you're not a hassle and that you tip.
Yeah.
And that's how you get good service because it's not that you're so great or so wonderful. It's just you're contrasted with the tide of assholes that they have to deal with. And so, like, basically that person, if every person that wasn't a pain in the ass, like, tipped them $1, at the end of the day, they would have dealt with, like, 25 assholes, and they'd be kind of agitated, but at least they'd have a pool of money for their trouble.
Like, hey,
and so you just try to balance that scale out. And he's like, I never thought about it like that. That's a pretty good point. I think I'm going to start tipping at Starbucks now. I'm like, I'm telling you, man, like, go in there, and, like, when you're getting a coffee, just take note of how the people in front of you treat your fucking barista and take note whether they drop $1 or $2 in the tip jar. And I guarantee you the people that are the worst to deal with drop no money in that tip jar. So you just, like, you're a nice person and you're kind and you're thoughtful. And so you should just be like, I'm going to fucking pay for that guy being a dick to you.
Yeah.
Like, same thing at restaurants. The tables that are the hardest to wait on and need the most shit leave you no money.
Yeah.
And so it's like, just try to be the opposite of that and you're doing society a favor.
Yeah. Here's a pro tip for all the listeners out there. It's not okay to say no tip. Just say it in front of someone's face. It's like, you don't need to tip me. I don't really, it's none of my business. But just to say no tip, because we have a prompt in our thing, and he's like, no tip.
No tip.
I'm like, okay.
I always just say, you don't need to narrate the whole transaction.
Yeah.
Not necessary.
Put the card in.
Not necessary.
There.
You know what? Little linguistic shift I made that I picked up from largely from black people when I lived in Ann Arbor.
Okay.
I don't know why, but it's largely a black thing,
Huh.
and I like it.
Huh.
Black people don't say appreciate it; they say I appreciate you.
Oh yeah.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Yep. thank you, appreciate you.
Like,
You know, you say that. It's
Yeah.
like it's a nice. Like I picked it up because my buddy Rob used to wait tables at the Fleetwood, and he's a waiter, and so he's just like, yeah, he's like, I just got a few people saying that to me, and now I say it to my tables, and it seems like, you know, I don't know, it just, yeah. You don't appreciate what I did. You appreciate me.
Yeah.
That's nice. It's a nice shift. I say that now. People drop a tip in my chin. I appreciate you.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I do like that.
Yeah. Yep. It's just, you know, just you money goes in that jar. I appreciate you. Thank you. Appreciate you, boss.
Cool.
People go, yeah, I like that guy. I like that press pass guy, or David. I like that David guy. Dave.
Had a big cigar surprise.
Exploding cigar?
No. We don't really carry Arturo Fuente here because there's like a bad experience with a rep with the owner of the shop.
That seems to be a common occurrence.
And they did pick up a box of Queen Bees.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There's
The sun-grown rosado ones?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was blown away by that cigar. I was like, what the? Like the first light, I was like, what the fuck? How come no one's talking about the cigar?
They're pretty good.
Yeah, they're really good. And I'm not a fan of Arturo Fuente, so other than
I think they're the sun-grown rosados. Rosados are just fucking good.
Yeah,
man.
the rosados are just an awesome wrapper, dude.
Yeah, it's just like,
I was like, oh wow, because it's like almost like if I had to think about it, like a comparison to food, like a rosado wrapper, depending on the blend inside, it's almost eating like an Indian curry. Just like a lot of flavors going on. You can't quite pinpoint a lot of things, but there's some overtones that you can pick out. But everything else is just like a nice, like, kind of symphony almost.
yeah, I don't know that I would compare it to curry, because curry is like, curry is for lack of a better word, is loud. It's a loud flavor.
That's why I'm saying like a light curry.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like a light curry, sure.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, curry, I usually think of like vindaloo curry or something like really like, whoa, like. But yeah, it's like this little like just jazz. Like,
The guy with the drums that looks like a brush.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like oh, it's a little melody.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Beautiful. So I got bummed out because it was like Bailey bought me one, and it was like the last two in the box. Like, fuck! I should have popped more on it. How come no one told me?
We got them on Aloni.
Okay.
Pick you one up.
I don't know if there's any truth that it was blended for mission.
I don't know.
Be, you know. Oh,
I don't know.
no, I don't know. I have no idea.
I would be skeptical of that. I would be skeptical of that. I mean, it's possible, but
Yeah.
I feel like the balance of probability is not in favor of it.
Probably ask your buddy Jeb or your manager. See if he knows anything about that.
Yeah, that motherfucker went to cigar college or some shit. Like, I'm sure he's like, actually, here, let me give you the fucking deep cuts shit. It's like, God damn, dude.
I was thinking about doing that. It really doesn't add anything to my job, but the interest of me like going to that, was it Tobacconist University?
Yeah.
To go through that course is like, okay, yeah, I do know all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought about doing it, but a lot of it too is almost just like it really is like it is almost just like cigar college, because like the Tobacconist University gives you like basically seed to shelf.
Yeah.
Right? In that process. But like it doesn't give you like the history, which Jeb is all like apprised on, and like here's what this is, like here's the thing is like, you know, what happened with this is when this guy was blending and he was chewing some double mint gum, and so it occurred to him that like, you know, that like strong mint flavor in the background that you get, like he put that in there because, you know, he's like damn dude, like he's like, yeah, he wrote all about it in his memoir, My Double Mint Gum Wrapper Leaf, and he's like fuck dude, seriously? It's like, that's what
You're
you do.
too into it.
Yeah, it's just like he's a cigar nerd, and it's like, yeah, that's why it's doubly impressive to me. It's like Brandon is like that. Like when when Jeb recommends something, and I'm like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Do you like this? And you're like, yeah, I love this cigar. I'm like, I can't stand this. Like, I just must be wrong, right? Like I must be wrong. You know more than me, so you are better than me.
Well, I know it's more lore. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, sure, but it's just like, I don't know. Something I think it's part of it is like the longer I know Jeb, it takes a little while to chip away. He has such a friendly and agreeable demeanor that it takes a little while to chip away at that and get him to like he's just such a like positive person in general, and he's just like has like a sales mind that he just doesn't. He always like molds and tempers and takes the edge off of like anything that he says, and so it's like you have to know him and interact with him for a while, and mostly like I try to just be as forthright with my opinions as I can, strident or not, and then I think that
this is dog shit. Well, people have different tastes.
No, but I mean like like I'll ask him about something like, oh, it's just like. It's like this flavor profile or whatever. And like, I just like, a lot of people like really like it. And I'm smoking. I'm like, this is fucking terrible. and I'll do that enough. And eventually he'll say something like, yeah, that was kind of my thought too. Like not like a strong criticism, but like his real opinion will bubble over to the surface. But he's just not used to interacting with people when he, isn't trying to like frame
or try to sell you something.
Right. Try to frame things in the mindset of like making a sale and like, also not being, he understands very well that like differing opinions can trigger people's defense mechanisms about something as simplistic as cigars.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I would say that most of the people that are customers at Aloni take my criticisms of cigars well. Like I was actually really surprised about that. Like I'll just say something like, yeah, I don't say things like that's dog shit.
Yeah.
Or like fuck that cigar or like it's terrible. Like I don't shoot from the hip like I do when we're talking.
Yeah.
But I'll just be like, yeah, I do not like that cigar. Like I just
or I go like, you know what? A lot of people buy it and they enjoy it.
It depends if it's a complete stranger, but if it's a regular and they ask me what I think of something, I'll give them an honest opinion. And a lot of times, more often than not, like I'm surprised at how frequently people be like, thanks for the honest opinion, man. Like, that's good to know.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it won't even change. Like they'll be like I'm just going to try it for myself. And like, I told that to a guy, last week, I think I told you this, where he was like going to buy the Cohiba Red Dot. Yeah. And he was like, oh, what do you think of this? And I was like, the Cohiba Red Dot? And he's like, yeah. He's like, do you like it? And I'm like, I can't stand that cigar, man. I'm like, it's way overpriced. It's terrible. If you gave it to me, I would not smoke it. I'm like, I can recommend, if you want to spend $36, I'll just recommend 2 or 3 cigars that you can get that are way better than that, and you'll spend the same money. Oh yeah, I had the same conversation today with a group of guys. Yeah, and then he bought it anyway. He's like, I'm just gonna try it for myself, and I was like, I like that. Like, yeah, make your own mind up, right? Yeah. Like, I'm not some sort of like guru authority on anything. Smoking the cork, he's right. It's terrible. It's terrible. Yeah, and I always tell people too. I make a recommendation or something like that. I always say, just come back and tell me what you thought. Like, if you hated it, we'll try again. And so, yeah, I'm waiting for that guy to come back. When you were fucking talking about the Cohiba Red, that was the bomb. Like, all right. This cigar's more for you. There's a whole box of them over there. Yeah. Fucking $36 a pop. Fucking garbage. Yeah, I had multiple times people like, what do you think about this Cohiba? Like, honestly, no, don't bother. Yep, it's just nope. Sorry, Bill, but yeah, I can't recommend that cigar, that brand especially. Yeah. It's too hard. See, but like I think the better sales tactic is let me recommend 2 cigars. Yeah, that's what I do. Same price, right? Like, and then they're spending the same amount of money, and they're gonna get something. They'll get twice as much. Who doesn't like to get like twice as much? Yeah, that's equally good. Yeah. For the same price, like everyone does. Yeah. So it's just like look at it like spending money, moving stock. Like, or I don't know if they think like this guy's a hipster. He doesn't know what he's talking about, or something like that. It's like no, just don't bother. Yeah, somebody said that they were asking me for a rec the other day, and they were like, he was like, yeah, I'm kind of new to cigar smoking, and like, what do you recommend? And I'm like, well, I really like this, I like this, I like this, and he's like, I'm looking for something kind of more like brand recognition as opposed to like, some more boutique stuff. I recommended something I think it was either Foundation or Dunbarton, and it's probably either the Tricky Tracka or maybe the... I don't like that name. That doesn't sound sophisticated. It was either the Tricky Tracka or maybe one of the Tabernacles or something like that. He's like, yeah, I'm looking for something that's not quite so boutique. And he's like, and I was like, okay, well, my father... Why should you be a plebe and get some General? Get out of here. Well, that's what I told him. I was like, well, here's the thing, man. He's like, I want something really good, but with high brand recognition. And I was like, okay, so here's the thing. With the exception of a few companies, I would say Oliva, My Father, Padron, Fuente, Davidoff. I think those 5 companies have high brand recognition and are respectable companies. I was like, but most of the things that have high brand recognition because they're Cuban knockoff names, and the most that's General and Altadis stuff. And they're typically not that great. That's why you see a lot of serious cigar smokers smoke more boutique stuff, with the exception of like those 4 or 5. I mean, Oliva's not even that big. Oliva and my father are probably about the same, but they're not on the same order of magnitude as like Davidoff and Fuente. At least I wouldn't think so.
I don't know.
I mean, just based on visibility and amount of like blends and all that. Like, I would think that Davidoff and Fuente are bigger than my father and Oliva.
I don't know. I haven't looked at the numbers, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't know either. But I'm just that's my gut instinct is that those are bigger companies, and they're both, like Padron has brand recognition and quality. It's why they enjoy such a great reputation. I was like, but beyond that, man, it's like, a lot of that stuff that has high brand recognition is not necessarily all that good.
Oh, you're smoking a Romeo Julieta?
Romeo y Julieta?
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Anyway.
Oh, you got those Monty 2s, bro? Fuck yeah.
They're Dominicans.
Well, I don't care. I just like the band.
I just like the Monte Cristo No. 2 name. It's like, okay, cool.
Man, we got those.
They got them in name, not in quality.
So let's get into the cigar of the week.
Is it Halloween again all of a sudden?
No, that's my fancy announcer voice.
Oh.
Yeah.
Welcome to the world of tomorrow. Yeah.
We are smoking the Siempre by Dapper Cigars.
Best cigar Dapper makes.
I like the El Borrachos.
Yeah, I didn't say I didn't like the El Borrachos. I do like the El Borrachos, but I think this is better. The El Borracho Maduro. The naturals are decent. Dapper's a weird company for me. It's like they're like this, the El Borracho, like, and then I want to say they have one other one that's like pretty good. But like, so like I like those. And then they have a couple of cigars that I think are decent. Like some of the Cubos are like decent. And then they have like a few cigars. They don't have a very big line. It's almost like split up into thirds, like 2 or 3 good blends, 3 or 4 decent blends, and then like 2 or 3 blends that I'm just like, this is the same company?
Yeah.
Like, it's really weird to me. It's the same, because they can't have more than one blender. I wouldn't think a company that small.
I think Ian's the only guy.
I would think, right? And it's just like, I just, some of this stuff is like, I'm like, I don't like this at all.
Yeah.
But it's like, but this cigar is dynamite. It's
been fairly consistent throughout. I've been, since we had that event maybe a year ago, been smoking them pretty steadily. Yeah, it's the solid cigar. It's in that profile range that I do like. It's a little bit toned down than I usually smoke. Still has those dark notes, a little bit dry of a cigar. Get a little bit of raisin out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, like we were talking before the podcast, it's like, it's because I remember asking this of Anthony Miller, hangs out here. I was like, it's not just me, right? Like, this cigar has like a citrus note to it, right? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, man, sometimes I just like think I inception myself. Like I see a band, I see orange, and so it almost like primes me to taste citrus.
Yeah.
And so like I try to verify that because, like we were mentioning, I mean, there are some obvious exceptions to certain things, but like a lot of times, like the marketing or whatever, it's like they make the blend and then they make the band to kind of like to set your expectations for that flavor profile.
Yes.
And that's usually a good thing, right? And it mirrors it. And every now and again, you get something that's like
you get any Gurkha band,
right? Because they're just all jiggy and like. Although to be fair, they use a lot of like reflective bands, and sometimes you'll just be like, yeah, this tastes like glitter. This fucking tastes like glitter.
Straight garbage.
But like, yeah, like the Davidoff white labels are a great example. Yeah. Like it primes you for that flavor profile. It's a clean, minimalistic, like creamy note to it.
Yeah.
Right. Like just not a lot of frills. Same thing with the Tatuaje brown label. Like just how, it's brown and it's simple, and that primes you for what it is. And so, and sometimes
even the red label, I was like, some kind of red thing in my head that pops up. I don't know if it's like power of suggestion and looking at the band, but yeah,
maybe. But yeah, I think that cigar has like some spice note to it. Or the La Racine comes to mind from L'Atelier. I don't know if you ever smoked that.
No, I don't think I have.
The La Racine is like, it's got this like cherry red like it's not cherry red. It's a little darker than it's like a crimson red,
Mm-hmm.
and it has a really strong like cinnamon note to it up front.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it hits the air. Like that's one of the few cigars, at least when they were new. If you lit one in the room,
mm-hmm.
I could like without seeing the band, I could be like, "You're smoking a Lyricine."
Mm-hmm.
Like it just smells like a cinnamon room note,
Mm-hmm.
and tastes like cinnamon. And so that's this weird like. I would imagine that the more thoughtful cigar companies do that.
Yeah.
And try to like design labels and everything that go along with.
Yeah, I think it kind of does. It does a disservice to have like all uniform bands, like Oliva, for example. It's kind of almost the same.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like the G and the O is a little bit different. It's just that's the only difference between the bands. Or like Arturo Fuente.
Fuente's the fucking worst. God damn, all their stuff looks exactly the same.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
It's just like the Don Carlos is black instead of red.
Yeah.
Is different,
Uh-huh.
but everything else looks identical. That's
Yeah.
like my biggest criticism of Fuente is
Mm-hmm.
it's like because Adam is always talking about like how like Tatuaje has no consistency in their branding, like something like the Capaguan. He's like the Capaguan doesn't look like a fucking Tatuaje. I can't tell that it's a Tatuaje. It's in really fine print, and I'm like, right, I get that, but like you don't want too uniform. Look at Fuente. It's like it's a shit show. You can't like tell. Like when people bring a Fuente band to
like,
you,
I don't know what that is.
Here, look at this.
Yeah,
Like,
do you have the cello too, where it has a
is
name
the
on
cello the secondary? Will look like? What was the coloration of the wrapper? Like I don't know. This one.
it? What's
like,
a Vitola?
That's a right. Yeah. What's the size?
Uh-huh.
And so it's like, but I mean, I get his point. Like if you look at Illusion, like the one-off doesn't fit with that branding.
Yeah.
That weird orange, bright orange peace symbol,
Mm-hmm.
white and orange peace symbol.
It's an homage to an older brand. So
Yeah, but it just doesn't fit with the rest of their like branding.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I mean, the Fume de Mor is a little outside of that, but I mean, most of their branding is pretty consistent. But
well, they take cues from like Cuban classics,
Mm-hmm.
Cuban classics. But yeah,
But yeah, like if you're gonna have uniformity, the way to do it is like what the DPG series is. It's like same band and they're all just different colors.
yes, yeah.
Like, and you could do, because I mean they could have, or like 601 does this. 601 blue, red, green, like they all look identical and they're different colors, and you just know, you know, like the green one is the Habano and the blue one is the San Andreas and the red one is the Corojo. What am I missing? The black one is the Connecticut. They don't make that anymore though.
We got him.
We got him. Got him.
Got him.
But there's an exception though. A black band is not something you would that portends a Connecticut flavor typically.
Yeah, but it does telegraph that pepper.
Yeah.
Of that cigar. So,
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That one in particular
Mhm.
does have like a pepper note to it.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Yeah, same thing with the Cuban classic. It does have like the upfront of that pepper, that Dompapine signature kind of flavor. That pepper.
I love the Cuban Classic. It's one of my favorite cigars.
It's good.
It's a really good cigar.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, back to the Siempre.
Mhm.
So yeah, I go well like I like that it's kind of like I don't even know what kind of wrapper leaf is on this. Is it an Oscuro?
I don't even know.
I don't either. But it's Nicaraguan.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's got a little bit of that spice, a little bit of chocolate, but it does kind of take the edge off with like some citrus, and then it progresses nicely in the back half. The citrus definitely dies down.
Mhm.
And then it's just kind of replaced with like a mellow earth, and then the pepper, from my recollection, in the back half kind of picks up. I don't know if I call it like a black pepper, but it's definitely some sort of spice.
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe like a red pepper or something, but it definitely has a little spice to it. But it doesn't hit like my nose the way like a black pepper note does, like in like something with a real like Lajero forward flavor profile does. It's more on the like on the front of my tongue spice, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like when you like, I don't retrohale, but if I did retrohale, I bet you this would have like, it wouldn't have as much like nose hit pepper spice as like something that is like really Lajero forward, like gets that kind of like at the back of then the top of your palate, like it hits like it's gonna like, even if you're not retrohaling, like it just wants to push like and get those little mucous membranes with spice. It's like ugh. It'd be a little much sometimes. I don't like cigars that have that too aggressive pepper note like that. Like it generally turns me off because it like
it's no Jaime Garcia.
it just like mutes it. It mutes some of the flavors. Like if there's other flavors going on other than that, like if the black pepper is too aggressive, it's like black pepper on food. Too aggressive on food, you just can't taste the food.
Yeah.
Like it's not good.
Well, yeah, it's agree with all notes.
I
don't
know. You get anything out of it that I didn't mention?
No, pretty much the same. Like I said, there's like a little bit of like a raisin to it. And for me, it's not. There's no real notes that kind of stand out right now. It's kind of just like a nice, rounded off flavor.
Yeah, I think in the first
because the flavor really comes at the finish, not when you're actually like have the smoke in your mouth. It's like kind of it's just in your palate.
Yeah, it's what leaves you wanting to take another puff.
Yeah,
and so like, but yeah, I would say that kind of like I would have said figs, not raisins, but you like same ballpark flavor profile. Like I get that really strong on the light up. And like before the first ash, before the citrus comes in, like I get that like pretty strong, but then it kind of like to me it dissipates. But I think that's part of what makes it a good cigar is that it has what you would call complexity, right? Like that
it's not heavy-handed.
That note's there, and it kind of stays there, but then other notes kind of come into play as the cigar progresses, and then they all kind of like get turned down to a low simmer so that by the time you're in the back half of the cigar, like you said, it's just this really rounded off, like complex flavor that like you can't really put your finger on what you're tasting at that point. It's just like, oh, here comes this, and here comes this, and here comes this. And then it's like, and then now it's just like all of those things a little bit. Yeah. And like, I can't really place what's died off and what's still there and what ratio. It's just kind of like, oh, we're just kind of on cruise control at this point, and that's nice.
It does remind me of like those like chocolate bars that have a little bit of orange bits in it. It has that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Espinosa dark chocolate, but it has more. More flavors going on than that. That cigar is good, but it hits chocolate and citrus hard and just kind of stays there. Where this has like more like nuance to it, I think is what makes it a better cigar. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice. Yeah, even for someone, I generally kind of like straight towards more medium plus to full. Yeah. And this fits into the profile that I like. And I consistently pick these up like maybe once a week I have one. Yeah.
Give it a 80. I give it an 8.8.
Let's try. I just didn't. I should have looked up like with the wrapper filler and all that stuff. But for the most part, they always say Nicaraguan. It's like, that doesn't really help me. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like that's like what I always like. People ask me like, the tap brown label versus the natural 7th. So like the 7th series is the Kappa Kappa or the Kappa Especial, the Reserva, and then the natural. They're all the 7th series. And the 7th natural looks identical to the brown label, but it does not taste identical to the brown label. That brown label has more spice and more cedar. And it doesn't have as much of a like dried fruit flavor. But like you try to describe the blend and it's just like, well, it's just a Nicaraguan Puro, or what's different about it? Like, I don't really know. Like it's just different tobacco. I don't know what else to say other than it's just Nicaraguan, but like fine. That's like all of Curavari's stuff is just listed like that. Nicaraguan. It's like, it's like, oh, okay. Like every now and again, they'll be like San Andreas, Nicaraguan. Yeah. It's like Connecticut, Nicaraguan. Yeah. It's like, okay, but like 80% of their fleet is just Nicaraguan Puros. That's all it's listed as. It's like, that doesn't help me.
All right. This is coming from the Dapper Cigar website. Okay. Now it makes it more interesting looking at what the blend is. It's Ecuadorian undisclosed, sun-grown Sumatra from the Oliva farm. The binder is a Connecticut broadleaf, so that's why it cools down a little bit. Yeah. Filler Nicaraguan Esteli, Nicaraguan. Oh, Honduran. Has Honduran tobacco in it.
Weird.
Yeah. Really?
It's normally it's weird. The only other cigar I can think of with a broadleaf binder is the Neanderthal by Romacraft, and that cigar kicks you in the fucking teeth, and I always assumed it was the broadleaf binder. But if this has a broadleaf binder, it doesn't hit as hard as that cigar does. That cigar fucking is a heavy hitter.
It's a Henderson.
It's that cigar is a fucking hitter. Like, it's. I'd hold that cigar up in the strength profile against any fucking cigar.
Which one is this again?
The Neanderthal, the one with that flat cap and the orange and white band.
Yeah, it's just too. It's too. Yeah, it's too much.
It's too much.
It's like fucking come on, man.
It's like it's just like whoa. It was
for real animals, dude.
Yeah. Like that little cigar is like this big.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the standard size, like when they only had the one size in Neanderthal. It's only like the size of a Robusto, but it has a little bit of a belly on it, so it's kind of fatter than a Robusto. But like that cigar hits just as hard as like an LFDA. Like an LFDA's hit fucking hard. And it's like
those are tasty.
Yeah, they're tasty, but like I remember when they first came into my old shop in Ann Arbor. La Casa de la Habana in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Plug them, I guess. So the manager
didn't pay us. Fuck them. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I'm sure some of the people that hang out there are still old buddies of mine. I think the manager's the same. He's a good dude. But he was like, "Oh, we just got these LFDAs," and I was like, "Well, I like A's." He was like, "All right, yeah, but just take it easy, right? It's like a strong cigar." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And there was a guy behind me, Kyle, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll try one of those too." And so we lit it up, and we're both shooting the breeze or whatever, and we're smoking. And we get about a third of the way in, and I'm like, "Is this really?" And he's like, "Yeah, no, I haven't eaten anything today." And I'm like, "Yeah, neither have I." And I was like, kind of expecting it to like kick me in the teeth. And he's like, "Yeah, it's kind of strong." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I just thought it was just me." So a little while later, I was like smoking. I got like into the second third.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
all that build up. It's like, yeah.
And I was like, felt like the room was spinning, and I was like, and I felt a little embarrassed, and I was like, and after a while, I was like, all right, there it is. He was like, "Thank God you said something," because like shortly after I said that, I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like, I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty strong." I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty strong." I got one of those in my locker.
Oh, you still have one?
Yeah. Yeah. I think Chris Davis gave it to me. So you want LFD A?
Fuck yeah, I
I
want
don't
one.
really like LFD all that much, but fucking A? Fucking A.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like they get like at least pretty... I'm surprised it has Honduran tobacco in it. It's
maybe that's where the earthiness comes from.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe just like a sprinkling of Honduran tobacco just gives it an appropriate amount of earth instead of making
touches like Honduran tobacco. There you go.
Yeah.
Got the flavors in there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like when cocktails do like an absinthe rinse.
Yeah.
Have you know, like it's like an absinthe rinse, and it's like, so you don't want it to taste like absinthe, but it's like it's a rinse.
Yeah.
You just put it on the ice cubes and pour it out.
Yeah.
Pour perfectly good absinthe down the fucking drain.
That's what it's good for. Yeah. Garbage.
Yeah. I like absinthe.
Never had it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, you don't like that anise black licorice flavor.
Oh,
right?
yeah, then I wouldn't like it.
Yeah, you would hate it then.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, I like that like flavor. It's like candy.
Are you like black licorice?
I don't like black licorice, but I like that flavor. It's weird. Like I like licorice, like red licorice.
Yeah.
With a licorice flavor.
Yeah.
And like if there's tea with like licorice root in it and it has that strong licorice flavor to it.
Oh.
How
about those like black, like Mike and Ike's? What are those called? They're like black, white, and pink.
Oh, Good and Plenty's.
Yeah. You like those?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
For some reason, I don't really dig it. Like, I like that flavor, but I don't really like black licorice. But like, yeah, the chewy candies, the Good and Plenty's are okay. But I don't really dig on black licorice,
grandma candy,
black jelly beans or anything. But for some reason, I like that anise flavor. Like if like my ex used to make sugar cookies with like anise frosting, and she would put like anise and mix it in the frosting and then put it on the cookies, and it was fucking delicious. But for some reason, it's not really in candy. It's not. I like fruity flavored candy. Yeah, I'm one of those people. Yeah, and like every now and again, like if a hard candy is flavored like something kind of weird, like lavender or something, I might, or like this is really weird. Like, so how do you feel about Ricola?
It's the medicine I need. It's not something I'm like, oh yeah, Ricola.
Yeah, Diana always
it makes my throat feel better.
Diana always used to get them because she's just like, yeah, it's medicine. It's like, you know.
I take that back. I do eat that, bro. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. Yeah.
But she just got them because, like, in her culture, it's just like, if it's medicine, it must taste bad. So she's like, oh, I just get them because they taste horrible, and like that's what cough drops taste like. And I was like, So you buy these, but you don't like them. And I'm like, they're like, first of all, as far as cough drops go, they're not terribly effective. Get some of the like Halls, like menthol, eucalyptus, fucking like those
That
things.
shit, I have to stop myself from not buying that shit because I'll just eat the whole pack.
Yeah, see, I don't like the way those taste, but when I want something to soothe my throat, that's what I get.
Yeah.
But like, I could eat a whole bag of Ricola.
Uh-huh.
Like those things are delicious. I don't know what the fuck they did. It's like somewhere between like some sort of weird like root beer candy and like some.
I was
herb.
thinking about like Fisherman's Friend or some shit like that. That like off-branded weird stuff.
I don't know that.
Yeah. But yeah, Halls. I love that shit. That's not medicine. That's candy.
Yeah. Sucrets is candy to me.
Oh, it comes in like the blister packs. Those things. Or is it like the ice, whatever they're called?
No, they actually used to come in little cardboard boxes that say Sucrets on them, and they basically they're just like they're candy. They're cherry flavored candy.
Okay, I do
but
know
they're
those are,
but they have like a slight menthol. Like those things are tasty. But yeah, like when it comes to like Ricola does fuck all for my throat if it's sore. Like I want like basically it feels like I've eaten like a block of Icy Hot, right? Like that's what like Hall's menthol like
Hell
ultra.
yeah.
It's like you ate like Icy Hot, or Ben Gay or something. It's like that soothes my throat. But like I just eat the Ricola. It's like
yeah, because I'm like I love mint tea.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
I love like chewing gum with mint. Like I like that like. Was it Crest? No. Colgate has like the HD whatever. It's like all mint all the time. Like you still taste it like 4 hours later in your mouth. Like, hell yeah, I like mint.
Not a big mint guy.
Yeah.
So do you really like those little Andes mints?
I don't know if I had that one. I like the Henry Clay ones. Those are good.
No, these are chocolates.
Oh.
They're Andes. And they're like layered. They're like little squares like this, and they come in like a green like
yes. I do like those.
And they're like layered like, chocolate mint.
Yeah.
Chocolate mint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like those.
Yeah, I would like that. Like I like those pretty well too. But like I would imagine, like, you're a mint chip ice cream person too.
I've never had that. People ask me like, you like mint, but you never had that. I was like, yeah, I just don't ever. It never pops in my mind to have it.
So what's your go-to ice cream flavor then?
I like. If it's Ben and Jerry's, it's like Cherry Garcia. If it's just like run of the mill,
what's in Cherry Garcia? I don't know this.
There's dark red cherries, chocolate chunks. I don't know what the ice cream is because it has like some flavoring of cherry in it. I don't know if it's vanilla or whatever, but that's my jam. I like that one. But if it was anything else, it'd probably be Rocky Road.
I always forget what's in Rocky Road. It's like macadamia nuts, marshmallows, chocolate.
Yeah.
And is that it?
Walnuts and maybe almonds, depending on what the brand is, I think.
So there's two types of nuts in it? I
think there's just, I want to say almonds and walnuts or something like that.
Oh, I thought it was macadamia nuts.
Maybe some have them. I don't know.
Huh, yeah. That's a flavor that like people are always like saying that they like, but I never remember what it has in it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's weird that you're like, I would say mint chocolate chip is like the number one flavor of ice cream among like people that list a flavor of ice cream that they like, and I just don't get it. I don't like mint chip ice cream.
Yeah, I never had it, so I don't know.
It just doesn't occur to you.
I'm thinking more like sorbets than ice cream.
Sorbet than ice cream?
Yeah.
See, I'm more gelato than ice cream. Gelato is like...
Gelatos are good.
Gelatos are fucking
Yeah, I just don't have enough of it where we're like, oh, I want some. It's just like, it's very like rare occasions where like, oh, we got gelato. Like, oh, I'll take some gelato.
Yeah, I like gelato a lot.
Yeah.
Like the Talenti gelato that they sell at the store is probably like the best gelato you can get in the store. It's really good. It's like, yeah, I just like, but I'm not like one of those people that likes a lot of. That's why I don't really like Ben and Jerry's ice cream, and because it's just usually like a lot going on, and I'm not one of those. I like
one of the Chunky Monkey.
Yeah, Chunky Monkey or whatever. Like there's like fucking 40 different things going on. I'm like, I like simple flavor. Like
apparently one of either Ben or Jerry doesn't have has no like they can't taste anything or something like that.
He's a nosmic.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's weird.
That is weird.
Yeah, but like, yeah, I don't get like the big fancy. Like if I want like some busy ice cream like that, like I like going to Cold Stone Creamery and like you can build your own like fancy flavor, like the
I like the cheesecake one. That one's good.
Yeah, the strawberry cheesecake one. That one's good.
That's my go-to.
Yeah, that one's good. It's like that's tasty. But generally, I just want like sea salt and caramel or coffee or pistachio.
Oh, what was that thing we saw? Making coffee. They had the coffee and the ice cream. They poured it.
Affogato.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot you.
Oh, you didn't try it yet, did you?
No.
Oh, yeah, it's fucking good, dude. It's good.
It's like, God damn, it looks tasty.
It is tasty. It's very tasty. Because it's like the richness of the coffee, and it's tempered by the cool milkiness. Like, especially if you like, you need like a really simple ice cream, like something like Breyer's, like vanilla bean ice cream. Like, so it's got that really strong like vanilla flavor, but it's not like an overpowering, so you still get the richness of the coffee. Really good. But I imagine it probably would work with other coffee, like other ice creams that weren't like super busy. But yeah, affogatos are good. It's just weird because it's not like, I don't really know where it fits, right? I don't have it that much because it's not really like a dessert, but it's not really like a coffee beverage either. It's like this weird like thing that's like, when do I eat it? Do I eat it after dinner? Or do I eat it like when you're going out for ice cream? It seems like it fits where,
like, you know, it's like having like, you know, apple pie a la mode. That's when you have it. Then you have it with a cup of coffee too.
Yeah, because you would have coffee after dinner. You also have dessert after dinner. So it's like combining both of them. But I don't know.
I don't know.
Not a lot of places have it. Like, you can get it at some, like at Crema, I think they'll make it for you. But yeah, I don't know. It's really tasty.
Is it more? It's an Italian thing, right? So like Italian restaurants, so I'm sure they would serve that.
Yeah, typically like those white checker tablecloth style Italian restaurants will typically have affogato on the menu for dessert. It's good. You can get it at like some high end restaurants too. Like, every now and again, I'll see it on the menu at like some fancy restaurant where it's like, you know, you go like some steakhouse or something, and it's like, you know, they have like 3 or 4 desserts on the menu, and that's it. And it's like, you know, it's like very simple desserts or whatever, but usually pretty good. But that's the thing, is like, if I want dessert, I don't want that. And if I want coffee, I don't usually want that either. So it's like, it's good, but it just,
no man's land.
It's almost like it doesn't fit into a meal for me. It's something that I would have like when you're like, hey, let's go out for ice cream. And then I would have it.
Oh, okay.
But like, any place you would go out for ice cream typically doesn't have that. So it's like weird. So I don't really ever eat it. I've had it like maybe like 4 or 5 times. I enjoyed it every time. I just feel like it just doesn't really fit into a meal anywhere. I don't know. Yeah.
I gotta try it.
Try it.
Looks delicious.
Yeah. I have an espresso maker. I make it for my house. And you're gonna make rice and what was it? Spam?
Oh, spam, rice, and eggs.
Spam, rice, and eggs?
Yes.
Oh.
That's the combo. That's the holy trinity of Filipino breakfast.
What kind?
Over easy.
Oh, not over easy. That's gross.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. What's an over easy egg?
Well, it still has the white that it's still kind of clear. Like when you jiggle it, there's a little bit of it there. Or are you talking about, you like the ones where it has the there's like a skin to it, right? For, what do they call that?
I'm just learning that a lot of people don't know what over easy eggs are.
Yeah.
Like, over easy eggs are yolk undone and some of the white undone, right? But most people don't think that that's over easy. They think that over medium eggs are over easy eggs.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
I know the difference.
Yeah.
Over medium, that's what I'm thinking of. Like, that's what most people want.
But a lot of people think that's over easy.
Yeah.
And they'll order over easy, expecting to get over medium.
Yeah.
And then I would imagine a lot of people just don't even know. They don't even notice. They don't care. But like, yeah, for me, the white being undone is a non-starter. Like,
I usually just baste my eggs too, so.
As long as the white is all done.
Yeah.
I don't like.
I can do that.
And I can't have like the snotty white. It's like, I don't know why it grosses me out. But like, yeah, usually when I make eggs, I don't baste them. I flip them.
Oh. That's dangerous territory, my friend.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's a little tricky. You just baste them. That's all you gotta do.
Well, I mean, you could just put a lid over them, right?
Yeah, that's what I usually do.
Yeah. But like, how does that work? Like, how do you? Yeah, this is my problem. Is how do I not have the one side that's cooking get too done, but make sure that the white is done, but the yolk is not done?
Usually that the lid method usually works with that, Or basting it helps too, because it has like the hot oil.
But then wouldn't that just make them sunny side up eggs?
No, because you're cooking the top with the hot liquid, right? So it kind of cooks both sides.
No, but like a sunny side up egg is like all the white done, but the yolk is undone, but it's exposed.
Yeah.
So it's not an over medium egg; it's a sunny side up egg.
Yeah.
So like, how do you get an over medium egg with the? Because like you do it with the base, like the French method, right? Like you just like throw the oil or whatever you're cooking, butter, whatever you're cooking with.
Yeah.
I don't do that because I don't want to scrape my pan up, like my Teflon pans. Like you'll scrape them up with the metal.
You usually have like plastic spoons, not plastic, but like the heavy duty, like cooking spoons.
Yes, I don't have those. I just have like metal spoons, so I don't want to scrape up my thing.
Yeah,
so but like, plus so I've never had plastic spoons, so I've just gotten good at flipping eggs. Like I just flip them, and I can flip them without breaking the yolk, so it's fine. Every now and again, I do it and break one. But
I have noticed that a lot of people that they we're going way too far off, but
whatever.
I go really low on eggs, like on the heat wise, because you can always crank it up, but you can never crank it down because you're just gonna overcook your eggs.
Yeah.
So usually going low on the heat and then with the lid on there usually does the trick. It just takes patience to cook an egg, really.
I do low medium heat. I don't do.
That's a little too high for me. Low medium. Yeah, you're about right. Like on that middle, if there's like low, medium, you're kind of on this. If this is medium, you're kind of on this side of on the low.
Yeah, like if it's right in the like medium would be just like right in the middle of the dial, and then it's like 2 clicks down.
Yes,
that's low medium.
Yeah,
like not quite low because there should be two or three notches below that, and like before it says low. And if you're on one of those 2 or 3 notches, then that's what I would call low. By the way, I tried your low and slow bacon method.
See, just take some time, baby.
Chopped it up.
Yeah.
Chopped it up real fine. Took like 25 minutes or something to cook it.
But it turns out, wow.
And then I just put it in like a container in the fridge. I was like, ooh, it's gonna be good.
Because it renders out the fat really well too. Because there's not a lot of like liquid anymore. So like it just get that just like nice goodness of bacon.
Well, see, what I did too is so my pan sits at this weird angle, so all the like grease pools on one end of the pan. So like basically what I did is I like scooted all the bacon, like once it rendered a little bit enough, I scooted it all down so it was just sitting in that fat and like it was cooking it. And then after a while, like I was just moving it up the pan where it was draining down and then like seeing how it was cooked. Like, okay, how is it cooked? Because like usually by time if it's in the pan, you're like, oh, it's crispy enough. And then when you take it out, it's like, it's overdone. Yeah. So I was just like moving it down. And then like I let it cook in the juices for a while. Yeah. And then slide it up. And then I'm like, all right, that's done. I'm just gonna let it drain off. And then put it in the thing. Empty the bacon grease in the jar. I'm good. Yeah. And it's like, turned out pretty well.
Yeah. And then you just immediately cook eggs on that thing. Ooh. You got like that fond right there. It's all brown on the bottom.
That's like too much bacon grease though.
You don't use all of it. That's why I'm saying you like scoop out a couple in your jar and then the rest remaining there.
I wasn't even cooking.
Yeah.
I was just like,
prepping.
I'm going to chop up that bacon and cook it right now while I'm not doing anything. Yeah. And just put it in the fridge so I have bacon.
Yeah. It's like a nice little bacon candle that you have for like 20 minutes. Like...
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it was too. I was like, wow, it smells like bacon. It's awesome. Yeah. Like, it's pretty good.
I forgot where I picked that up.
I don't know.
Yeah, but
it's pretty good. But like just chop, like basically I just took the bacon in 2 stacks and I just stacked it like 4 or 5 slices and then just chopped it like that into little like bits and then just tossed it. For a while there was where I was like, it doesn't seem like it's cooking. It's taking forever.
Patience is the key.
Worked out. Anyway, back on topic. What were we talking about?
Well, cigars. Let's move to the next section.
I like turtles.
You have any recommendations for this week?
I don't understand why people don't think that the Rolling Stones are the best rock and roll band. I have been listening to the Rolling Stones basically nonstop for the last like 4 or 5 days. They have so much music that's so good that it just like I don't even think it's close. Like if anybody out there hasn't listened to like the full catalog of like the Rolling Stones from like the early 60s to the early 1980s, like there is more great music in that era, like an entire career's worth of like great music for a band that I don't get claims to other rock and roll bands' greatness.
The Beatles.
Yeah, the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, and I'm not taking away from any of those bands. I love Led Zeppelin. I'm not like a big Beatles guy, but I acknowledge why they're popular.
Yeah.
But just on sheer volume, like I'm listening to the catalog, and it's just like, oh yeah, I fucking forgot about this song.
Cool.
I forgot about how great this song is. Like, man, this song is really good. Like, this song is really good. Like, oh, some deep cuts, and then a hit will come on. It'll be a fucking Ruby Tuesday or Satisfaction or like, just fucking Paint It Black or just like I'm like, and there's all these songs. Right, where it's just like a greatest hits album from the Rolling Stones is like 3 discs of all songs that you've heard like 1,000 times and are great rock and roll songs. And then like they have all these other songs that like you don't like even really know about. Like Exile on Main Street's a great album. What might be the best rock and roll album like ever. And like there's not really one big hit on that album. Like Sweet Virginia, I think, was a single on that album, but that's not one of their better known hits. But it's just like, I'm like, I don't get it. Like, how do people even like, to me, it's like the Wayne Gretzky, like this debate is just settled. Like they're just the best rock and roll band by a country fucking mile. It
might be because they've been around for so long, people just take them for granted, right? They just have such a long career. Like, yeah, they're great.
Yeah, and I think part of it is that they're hurt by the fact that they're still around.
Yeah.
It's like Led Zeppelin had like these great years, and then they just like, they were done, and then John Bonham died, and it was like, or whatever. It's like, they're over.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing with the Beatles, like they were, 10 or 15 years or whatever. But like,
I don't even think that long. They didn't even go for like a full decade, I don't think.
John Lennon, yeah, they did.
What, the Beatles?
Yeah, John Lennon died in, I think, 1980.
But they were broken up way before that.
They were broken up for a couple of years. They broke up in the late 70s, but they started making music in like the late 50s. So like, and then they rose to prominence basically like early 60s. And I mean, if you're going back like to like the Decatapes era, like it's like late 50s. So like it's a solid like 15, 17 years, and then like 8 or 10 years of that are like solidly like their height of their popularity. But yeah, like the Rolling Stones was like fucking like from like
50 years.
Yeah, like fucking 1962 to like 1982. It's just like all fucking great music. And then like they had a few good songs after that. Like hell, I remember being in high school when like Voodoo Lounge came out. I was like, oh, it's a pretty good album. It's like, but like, yeah, but they've had a lot of, don't get me wrong, they've had a lot of like not so great music since then. But it's like,
I play by the numbers. It can't be firing off full cylinders all the time.
That's what I'm saying, though. But like, if they just died, and all of them died in a plane crash horribly in 1980, they would have had 25 years of just great music.
Oh yeah, people be saying like they'll sing like greatest band of all time. That's for sure.
And band is different, but rock and roll band, like almost certainly. And like, yeah, I just like, and some of their music is like I've heard like Paint It Black. I've heard like 80 billion times. And it's a great song, and I don't really like it that much anymore because I've heard it so many times. But like, you get tired of listening to all the hits, and you go like
deep cuts,
and you're like, man, like there's so much good music here that I just like. How is it even like? And even if you wanted just to stack up hits, you wanted to go stack up hit for hit, right? Like all the hits that Led Zeppelin had, or like any band that's a great rock and roll band. CCR, a great rock and roll band. Or bands that I don't really like, Pink Floyd or Leonard Skinner, right?
Skinner, mate?
Right. It's just like, really? They're like 2 or 3 albums, like 3 or 4 albums. It's like, you want to stack up hit for hit, you just get drowned out. Like, go listen to the Rolling Stones catalog. Like, just, it's great stuff. I was dumbfounded. Like, how just like the fact that they have enough music that I could just listen to it for like 3 days straight in my car, and not even get through all of it. It's like. And this is just good stuff. It's not even all of their stuff. It's like 65 tracks of like just every song. So every now and again, it's like, whatever. Like sometimes Mick Jagger gets a little. I'm a sensitive dude too.
Yeah.
Like there's this song, man. Like it's something that's like so fucking crude. Like you piece together like how much Mick Jagger loves the colored ladies.
Oh, yeah?
He's a really big fan of black chicks.
Oh, yeah?
Right? So, like, the most eponymous is the Brown Sugar song, right? But he's got this one song called These Girls. And one of it is, like, black girls want to fuck all night, but I ain't got that much jam.
Whoa. Okay.
It's like, damn, dude, that's a savage lyric. Black girls want to fuck all night, but I ain't got that much jam. It's like, it was so fucking
That's pretty good.
But yeah, anyway. What about you? What do you recommend for the viewers? Some sort of watch recommendation?
Let's see. Recommend 12 Rules. Listen to it again. I liked it.
Yeah.
So that just recently, I was telling you about it. Found out it popped into my YouTube feed. Philosophy Tube.
Yeah, did we talk about that before? I feel like we might have like
You probably
flew
mentioned
over it. Like we just kind of like it was like one of those things. I think you were talking about biographics.
Yes.
And I think that's when I was like, oh, you should check that out. And then we just kind of like, yeah, biographics is pretty good. And
Yeah.
you were like, you should check out biographics. And
Yeah.
I don't think I ever did, but
Yeah.
But then yeah, I was like, hey, we just moved on to something else.
YouTube channel that talks about philosophy, but the guy puts in a lot of work for production.
Yeah.
He does like dresses up in costume. The editing's like a really high quality for a guy that's just talking heads.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty interesting. We need to deep dive more into his stuff because I'm not really sure about some of his viewpoints.
Yeah.
It's like, is he really into like Marxism? I don't know. He just mentions stuff like.
Yeah, well, a lot of those philosopher types are into Marxism.
Yeah.
That's why it's weird. I don't know, like, I think it's weird to, like, consider, I don't know, like, that's the thing is, like, there's a lot of overlap between political theory and philosophy, which I think is good, and I think that understanding philosophy helps you understand political theory and helps you understand your own political views. You know, it's a self-out kind of, like, worldview, and that's what philosophy is about, and so that's always good, right? Like know thyself sort of shit. And so but yeah, my friend Claire was like her dad is it was really weird. I didn't know this at the time when I met her, but her dad is the chair of the Republican Party in the town that we met in Marshalltown. And so he's like, a Midwest Republican, and he basically has this attitude about philosophy that it's like stuff that ivory tower liberal types study in college to like. And so I was writing her. We write back and forth every now and again, and I was like, okay, so like if you want to turn your dad onto philosophy, here are some things that like knowing a little bit about his political persuasion, some things that he should read that are probably
read some Plato, asshole.
No, I think that's probably his attitude about like I think that if you want to. You grab somebody with stuff that is more political theory, right? So I'm trying to remember what I recommended. I think Leviathan, so Thomas Hobbes' Social Contract. I recommended Anarchy State Utopia, which is the Night Watchman theory, introduces that theory of governance.
Who watches the Watchmen?
Exactly. Oh. What else did I recommend? Locke. Obviously, and somebody else, Spinoza maybe, like stuff that just like Enlightenment political theory that like the guys that were philosophers that largely inspired the founding fathers to like craft the Constitution, and I think that would be a good foot in the door for someone like him who doesn't really like philosophy. If you start with Kant and Descartes and Kierkegaard and stuff, like you just like, especially Kierkegaard is like so fucking dense. It's like Jesus, oh my god, or like David Hume too. That's who else I recommended for him.
Yeah, because sometimes it gets too meta.
Yeah,
and it's like you can't wrap your head around those concepts because it's just beyond like something like I would think about, because like they're thinking of like a higher state.
You're thinking about thinking.
Yeah. I was like okay.
That's
I think I'm just too stupid.
Yeah, that's how I feel when I read Kierkegaard. Yeah. Anybody's ever read fucking Kierkegaard, it makes you feel like you were retarded.
Yeah.
Like that guy just like basically did not like just walked in the woods, painted, and just wrote philosophy for like 20 years. And that was all he fucking did.
Yeah.
And it's just like he's the doppelganger to Nietzsche, right? Like he's the theistic existentialist. So it's like, and although I'm an atheist, I much prefer his philosophical leanings to Nietzsche's. They just seem more insightful.
Life is suffering.
Yeah. I mean, not that there's not to be said something about the whole concept of angst in a real existential sense of the word, existing in a world in which you are fully autonomous, does not exist, so you are responsible for your actions. I think that's a pretty fucked up concept and probably does have a lot to do with postmodernism in general, but I think just by time I had stumbled across that, it was just kind of like, yeah, so what's new? Like, big deal.
Yeah. I thought about this stuff on
my
own.
I already feel this way.
Yeah.
Like, you're just sorting it out for me and putting in filing cabinets basically at that juncture. But like Kierkegaard just breaks your fucking brain. Like you have to read like every sentence like fucking 20 times to be like, what is he saying? Like it's like this one word. Like okay, I don't know that word. Like Kierkegaard introduced me to the word sophistry.
Sophistry.
Oh, not sophistry. Yeah, sophistry. Right. Is that the word I'm looking for? The concept that all that exists is you and your thinking mind, and that everything external to you is an aside. So like that concept is just like right, exactly.
Okay.
It's just like all that basically it's kind of tied to Descartes' concept of, I think therefore I am. All I can say is that I am a living thinking being. As far as I know, everything else is an illusion.
Yeah.
In a brain in a jar matrix sense of the fucking word, right?
Yeah.
And like I can wrap my head around that a little bit, but then like Kierkegaard just takes it to like another level, and it's just like gets really dense really fast, and then makes me feel really dense really fast.
Yeah.
So I just kind of tap out.
There's a great little piece that Philosophy Tube did. It was like, is philosophy just white men jerking each other off or just jerking off?
That's what Claire's dad thinks.
Yeah.
And yes, a little bit.
Yeah, it is. Because it's like almost like separating Kant, where like morals. Thinking about what morals are and all that stuff, and then him being a massive fucking racist. So like, can you separate the two out? Because like his ideas about like race and all those things do color his thoughts on other things.
Yeah.
These don't apply to everybody else, to him in his mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they think they're just subhuman, not,
Yeah, well, Ayn Rand is the best example of that if you want to call her a philosophy instead of a failed novelist.
Okay. I haven't read much about her, so I just know about that person, but I was like,
Well, she developed this philosophical framework, which is called objectivism, which,
that's kind of hard.
it's pretty culty. A lot of people that are of a strong libertarian mindset have a tendency to subscribe to it. And it does have a lure, and like, when I was young, as 18, 19 or whatever, like I could feel the gravity of it, like pulling toward me, or pulling me toward it rather. And so basically it's predicated on a few notions. One, capitalism is inherently more moral than socialism. So that's a thing. Two, that objective reality is more important than things not grounded in objective reality, right? Which has its roots in empiricism and all of the enlightenment. She just takes a step further and says, like that anything that's predicated on superstition is of no value. And then, which totally undermines a lot of the points that Peterson makes about the power of myths and what they say about our culture and everything. It's not a very nuanced view. And then rationality above emotion, and that ties into the concept of self, which is that you should always do what's in your rational self-interest. And so this is why libertarians are drawn to it, because that dovetails with their political theory nicely. And so
where's the rub now? Because they seem all kind of good things.
Sure, exactly.
Yeah.
When you lay them out like that, like, and those tenets I don't disagree with.
Yeah.
But like, you learn a little bit about Ayn Rand, and you basically like, it seems like she just developed this system to justify her own shitty way of treating people.
Okay.
And like,
it's like almost like Kant thing where like, yeah, great. Yeah. It was a great philosophy, but it's a piece of shit.
Yeah. And but yeah, I mean, like, history is rife with all kinds of great men who had horrible beliefs, and I mean, that's why it's important to examine these things and see whether, they still hold up to modern sensibilities, or whether you can divorce those ideas of their viewpoints on certain things. Like, a good example is H.L. Mencken. Like, big fan of H.L. Mencken, and I think that he had a lot of interesting things to say, or Aldous Huxley, same thing. But they had some pretty strong anti-Semitic views that were not good. And they were kind of intellectual elitists at the same time. That's one thing I really like about Jordan Peterson, is he's not an intellect. He is clearly a very intellectual guy, but he is not an intellectual elitist, which is part of the reason that I was so intrigued by his debate with Sam Harris, because I think that Harris has it all over him on, like, when it comes to defining parameters and, like, talking about metaphysics in a down-to-earth, like, concrete, specific way, and defining, you know, what a belief in God entails in some way that isn't, like, this abstract, fuzzy concept that Peterson is notorious for. But I think that Sam Harris is much more of an intellectual elite and frames things a lot in that context, much more than Jordan Peterson does. And so it's not like I was really rooting for either of them. It's like I see they both have really great merits. And so I, you know, was interested to see those ideas kind of collide at a high velocity, which was what was interesting about their debates in Toronto. Yeah, Toronto. But yeah, you know, Peterson talks about that all the time, about, like, what do we do with people that aren't so bright? Where do they fit into society? How do we cope with that? Because there is just a certain subset of people that are just too dumb to really do anything. About 1 out of 10 people. It's a pretty big segment of the population. And, like, as automation and everything increases, where do they fit in? What are we to do with them? Like, we don't have an answer for that, and it's troubling. And he's one of the only people I've seen really address that in, like,
UBI.
No. Every time I hear someone talk about that in the broad strokes, I'm just like, how do you think this fucking works? It's just like, no, who thinks this works?
I don't know.
I don't get it. But it's just like positing, like,
it's a weird thing, because, like, I really believe in the idea of that humans are kind of just, we're basically beasts of burden. We need to do stuff.
Yeah.
And if you're given comfort, you really have no motivation to do anything else. Do you do great works of art without struggle or anything like that?
No. I mean, that's part of Peterson's thesis, right? Is that, like, if you want to, like, make something of yourself, like, pull a load in some way.
Yeah.
Right?
Live a life.
Right.
Instead of just sitting there like a fucking slug.
Yeah. It's just like, but to me, the whole UBI argument is just an addressing of, like, well, automation is increasing.
Yeah.
And people are being disenfranchised in the workplace. And to me, the analogy seems to be this. Like, if I had to draw it in simplistic terms. Man, my legs sure hurt when I run. Well, just cut your legs off.
Yeah.
They won't hurt anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not sure that's a solution. It's a response to the problem.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really address the problem so much as it just kind of, like, eliminates the source of the problem.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, that isn't going to help anything. Like, you're going to find yourself with a whole slew of other problems that go along with not having legs.
Yeah. Yeah, when something goes away, it's usually there's a vacuum and other things takes its place. It's like when the automobile came about, it was like, all these fucking carriage makers are gonna go out of business. All these horses, what are you doing with all these horses? It just goes away.
Yeah,
and
so did all the horse shit in the streets.
Yeah, and it just figures itself out.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you choose. It was, you know, industrial machinery, right, during the early part of the century, and then it was the assembly line when Henry Ford invented the assembly line.
Yeah,
and it's like, I was going to put all these people out of work. It's like,
that's some of the shit you don't want to do.
Yeah,
right.
But and I mean, to be fair, they do make some pretty sophisticated arguments for why, you know, this is a unique set of circumstances and why it's not going to be like that. And I'm not; those arguments aren't totally without merit, especially because, you know, growing population, you know, growing demand from the economy, companies like Amazon and stuff like that. It's like, you just, you know, sure, but to automatically go to chopping off your legs is like, maybe there's a whole. It's a.
But the robot legs are better.
But it's a classic black and white fallacy. It's like presenting two options as if they are the only two options when there are myriad options. And it's like, just because you haven't thought of a different option that might be more viable solution doesn't mean you need to go to the most extreme. You're with us or against us. We either do UBI or everyone will be unemployed and die.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, it'd be useless in the economy. It's like, I don't think that's the scenario we're dealing with.
Yeah.
And if you're going to make that claim, you can't make a special pleading fallacy to to say, well, this new thing will displace a bunch of workers. And then I say to you, historically, that has been true, but always for the betterment of society. Imagine if we didn't have industrial machinery. Imagine if we didn't have the assembly line, and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, if we didn't have textile machines, we still have little children doing all that shit.
And
you don't want that.
And so you say, well, this is a unique circumstance. It's different. Okay, that's a special pleading fallacy unless you can demonstrate to me in concrete details how it is different and why it will play out exactly like you say it will play out. And that requires a lot of knowledge to have the predictive power of the future. If we are in a situation like you say, which is uncharted territory, why are you presuming to forecast the future with no historical knowledge?
Yeah, what's a law of certainty?
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So anyway, but okay, that's cool. Yeah, you liking the channel? That's good to know.
Yeah, watched the handful of them. It was like,
You're probably about where I was at it. I watched a handful of them. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I should get back to it. And then I just like, oh, look at when Westworld's out. We should watch other shit instead.
Yeah. Like I said, it's just like off, like kind of social media and media in general. Gotta watch something else.
Oh, did we talk about The Outsider? Did I finish that last week? I finished it this week, I think.
Okay, recommend.
Starts better than it finishes. There's some really good stuff in the early episodes, but it just they have to breach this supernatural hump, and they could have done so more deftly. But I do like what it portends for television, which is that this is and I mean, it tracks pretty well. So I don't know how much you know about script writing, but so generally speaking, a 90-minute movie, 120-minute movie, the script will be 90 pages or 120 pages, respectively. It's a page a minute. So I looked up the Outsider book, and it is 560 pages, 10 episodes, about an hour each, 56, 57 minutes apiece. Translates. So I haven't read the book because I haven't read anything by Stephen King in like 20 years, but I would venture to guess that it probably translates nicely, and I think that what that forecasts is that they've proven that that's a viable formula, and we're going to see more like limited series, like 10 episode series, and you won't have so many fucking books turned into movies that end up like shit. Yeah. Because you'll just be like, okay, how long is the book? All right, we convert that into a screenplay. It's say 300 pages. So we need 300 minutes. Okay, so let's do a 4-part series. Yeah. And I'm into that. Like, especially if HBO is going to be doing more of it, I think it would be a really good format to like convert books into movies. And, like that's anything
like tight and contained kind of storytelling. I do enjoy. I'd rather have that than something drag on for.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think, a lot of people I've talked to, like, I'm just really into shows. I don't really dig on movies anymore. It's like, I don't know. Maybe movies are an aging horror, but it's just, they have a soft spot. That arc of a film, like a great film, still resonates with me in a way that, like, a great show doesn't. They're different animals. But I would really like to see more limited series, especially if you're going to adapt things and try to do them justice, then you should, instead of trying to like cram something like into a fucking movie like they did before and like just fails miserably, just do a series. If it can be as viable, then why not? Like, it's, it'd be good. But overall, I give the show's a solid B. It's got the writing is decent. One of the things I like about it is that it kind of deals with this detective, and the acting in it is all really good, so that helps propel the story. But it kind of, it's this detective story, and like at first, like if you don't know anything about the show, like it just plays out like a typical detective story, and then you start to realize that something is fishy, and there's this supernatural element to it, and like it kind of deals with like the detective really having to come to grips with the reality of this, like, he's a rational, grounded, like, investigator. And like is always looking for the simplest solution and the clearest path to like whatever, and he has to like wrestle with this idea that like these two things just can't exist in the same, like they're conflicting realities, and they're both objectively true. Like they're both objective that you can't deny, and they conflict, and so the only rational assessment is to like conclude that something outside of your normal realm of understanding is a possibility. And him coming to terms with that and playing it out is, but like when it finally bumps over to that hump, it's like it feels a little like, all right, we kind of gotta get on. But I mean, it's 10 episodes, and it's probably like 5 or 6 or 7 of the episodes before, like, when it just plays out, where it's like you're not really seeing the supernatural element. They're alluding to it, and they're kind of like dipping their toe in, but it's still like not breached, where it's like, oh, here's the thing, and they don't have like a big exposition of like how and why and all that, almost to an unsatisfying degree, where you don't really like learn anything about anything. It just kind of happens, and sometimes that works, and in this case it doesn't work as well as it does like The Machine and Inception or something like that, where it goes unexplained, and that's fine. But yeah, it's like a solid B. It's worth watching. The acting is really good. It's pretty well paced as far as it goes, and it definitely...
Michael Bluth?
Yeah, Michael Bluth is in it.
Yeah.
He directs the first 2 episodes too.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah. What's that other series that like it's on Netflix? Ozark?
Yeah, he's in it.
Yeah. He's doing like real serious work now. That's weird. That's a weird turn for me, because I can't get my mind around like him being that type of actor when I'm like, it's Michael Bluth.
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess I don't really.
It's like that guy from The Office when he was in Jack Ryan. I'm like, I've never seen much of The Office, so I'm like, I don't really take this guy seriously.
John Krasinski.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you got some guns, bro, but like.
Yeah.
He like directed that Quiet Place movie.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I don't know. There's just something in my head I can't get out of.
Yeah, I don't really get it. He's kind of weird, but you know, he's pretty talented too. But yeah, Jason Bateman's been directing stuff for a while now, and it's like he's been like directing and producing, and then I think he's kind of like getting back into like the acting side of this for the stuff that he directs. Like he stars in both the episodes that he directs.
Okay.
And he directs the episodes, and so they come out pretty well. But yeah, it's got some high points. It's worth a watch if you're in the mood for something kind of weird and pseudo supernatural, but kind of plays out like a straightforward detective show. It doesn't have the mood of a show like True Detective.
Okay.
But it doesn't have the supernatural like stuff of like amped up to 11 like it does in some other shows. It's kind of like a good mesh of those, which is kind of a theme in the show, like kind of those worlds blending together. And it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. If I have enough time, I'll watch it.
Yeah, Raised by Wolves is next.
Yeah.
Are they done with that now? Is that season over? It's got to be over now.
I imagine it is. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the next...
yeah.
Pushing into that. Because I think that's like the last show on my list of things that I was like aiming to watch. I got a few movies on my list, but that's the last show that I've been meaning to get through. Okay.
Yeah, because I stopped because it was just a little too difficult for me to like have it on the shop when I'm working on Saturdays, because people come in and out and I pause it. It's just...
It seems like a show you probably need to pay attention to, and like is kind of
a good amount just to figure out what's going on, because there's like multiple plots going on at the same time, and then you're trying to weave it in together at some point.
Yeah, see, I can never do that. Like, just like put stuff on. Like when I'm like I have to like just be dialed into like whatever it is I'm like fucking watching.
Yeah, I agree. But it's just like I just put lo-fi hip hop, put it on, baby.
Yeah.
So
you watch Beetlejuice?
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
I forgot how little Michael Keaton's in that movie. He's not in that movie for very long.
He's not in that movie for very long. You just remember him because he's so like classic.
Yeah, and it's just freaky to see which Baldwin is it?
Alec
Baldwin.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's like you forget that's Alec Baldwin. You're like, oh wait, that's Alec. He looks so different. He acts so different.
Yeah.
It's like weird.
Yeah. Same thing when you see him in The Hunt for Red October.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit, forgot.
Yeah. But it's like that's one of the weird roles because it was before he really transitioned to comedy. So it was like his serious actor era, but that movie's kind of like a comedy.
Beetlejuice?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like Hunt for Red October.
No, not Hunt for Red October. Because like that's from his like serious actor days.
Yeah.
And he was in that, and he was in Malice, and he was in like all these like serious actor movies.
Yeah.
And now he's predominantly known as a comedic actor.
Yeah.
Right. And like, you know, he did Departed a while ago, and that was kind of a departure, pun intended.
Yeah.
And but you know, even in that movie, he's still pretty funny. But then like this movie is like a comedy.
You got a girlfriend? Make sure you're not queer.
Yeah, that's good. Make sure you lets everybody know your dick works. Oh, it's working. Overtime. That's like one of my most quoted lines from that movie. Oh, it's working. Overtime. But yeah, so he's like, it's a serious actor era, but he's in a comedy, but he's not really particularly funny in the movie.
No, he has really good timing, but other than that, he's not.
Yeah, and it's weird because I think that's the only movie he did with Tim Burton.
Probably didn't work very well.
I don't know. Him and Gina Davis. Gina Davis, right? Gina Davis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like those are the only movies, but everyone else.
Wow, she was like a little hottie back then.
A little bit. She's cute.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, all the other actors in there: Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, the chick that plays the mom, the chick that plays the guy that plays the dad.
Yeah.
Like they're all in other.
Great.
They're all really good, but they're all in other Tim Burton movies, and it's like Gina
right.
Gershon and like or Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin. It's like that's the only Tim Burton movie they're in. So it's like maybe they just didn't work well with the rest of the cast. So.
And I was thinking about too, like when we were kids, they had the Beetlejuice like animated series.
Yeah, I forgot.
And it was like
that.
so like if you, as an adult looking back at that, I was like, why would you make a kid show for this?
Well, interesting kind of movie trivia. That movie was one of the movies that existed on the bubble before they invented the PG-13 rating. That movie is rated PG, which is weird when you think about some of the things like the all nude model thing that he has, and he's nice fucking model, and he grabs his junk, and it's like there's some things in that movie that are like not PG, but they didn't really have a PG rating yet.
Up until Temple of Doom.
Or PG-13 rating.
Yeah.
So it's like it's right there on that bubble in that era where it's like when you watch it, it's like that's a little not PG.
Yeah,
right. It's definitely a PG-13 movie.
Yeah, it's like kind of fucked up concepts of like
scary, weird body horror shit.
Oh yeah, like Coach. I don't think we made it out of that car crash.
Yeah. It's like some stuff in there that's not okay for like 7 or 8-year-olds.
Yeah,
so like,
I was allowed to watch it.
So was I. And I loved it, and I still do. I think it's probably my favorite Tim Burton movie. Ed Wood is my favorite Tim Burton movie.
I saw that one.
That's his best movie.
I've heard a lot of people say it's like the best Tim Burton movie ever.
It's pretty good. Well, I mean, to me, that's not really saying a lot. I'm not a huge Tim Burton guy. Like Edward Scissorhands. Like, my girlfriend's like, "Have you ever seen that? I hear it's really good." I'm like, whatever.
That's a whatever movie.
That's how I feel. I was like, whatever. Whatever. It's fucking stupid. Most of his movies are stupid. I don't really like most of them. But Batman. I like Batman.
Yeah, that's weird.
But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, no. Beetle guys. Good stuff.
Yeah. But going back to the cartoon thing where like they're friends, they hang out, was like, but he wanted to fuck her, so.
Well, he wants to marry her.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever replies.
Like a horn dog.
I don't do it to her. He just wants to use her to like
get out.
Yeah. And in the cartoon, they're friends.
Yeah.
Which is weird because he's kind of the villain of the movie.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
But I mean, what are you gonna do? Beetlejuice cartoon where it's just like he's the bad guy.
Mm-hmm. And it's also interesting, like those archetypes of like the New York like artist. It's still a very relevant thing today.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God.
Where she's just so like just uppity and like.
Yeah, Odo's like kind of just hoity-toity. Yeah. And it still rings true today. It's like it's a weird.
Yeah, he's all effete. He's like, oh, over here.
Yeah.
And then the dad is just like a Joe Everyman kind of Joe Six-Pack kind of guy.
Yeah,
like, I don't know, whatever, honey. Fine. Like. And they have like the angsty goth daughter, which is like, that's who they.
I wish I was dead.
Yeah. It's funny too, because like I was like a goth kid in high school, and like all my friends were like such a huge crush on Winona Ryder in that movie because she's all goth. And I'm like, she was never my jam, right? Like I was like, I wasn't like into her gothosity.
Not edgelordy enough for you?
No, I don't know. I just. Like, it didn't, like, do it more than, like... I will say that, like, when I was younger, like, when I was in my 20s, like, a bunch of my friends were like, oh, man, like, Winona Ryder, like, in the 80s and early 90s, like, oh, man, she's such a hottie, and I was like, I never got it. But, like, now I'm a little older, I'm like, oh, I see what they're talking about. Yeah, Winona Ryder was really pretty when she was young. But, like, yeah, just the whole, like, goth aesthetic, like she just looks like someone's like depressed grandma, like it's like that's not hot to me. Like if she were like in a leather mini skirt and fishnets or something, I'd be like, okay, I'm into it. But not like the
widow. She's a theater goth,
weird widowed grandma look. I'm just like not into it.
I do like the part where the mother hates the house. Like we just got to tear it down. Like I like it. We should keep everything.
What I don't understand, I never understood about that movie. So, to summon Beetlejuice, they have to say his name 3 times.
Yeah.
But before he's summoned, he takes the form of the snake. And then she recognizes him later. She's like, hey, you're the snake. And he's the snake, he's on the banister and everything.
Yeah.
So how did he do that? How did he get out of the model to become the snake?
To scare all the people?
But no one said his name 3 times. I've never understood that.
I don't remember. I don't know.
It's like I was watching the movie and I was like, wait a minute, I thought this happened after she summoned him. And I'm like, yeah, but why? Then she recognizes him in the model because he's the snake before she meets him in the model, right? And it's like he's there terrorizing people. So it's like if he can just leave to become a snake, why does he need her to marry him so he can leave the model or whatever?
I think to be permanently into the living world, he has to get married. But
they don't explain very well how he like manifests as the snake to like scare the shit out of all of them. And they think it's cool, right? They think it's cool if the house is haunted, which is kind of funny.
no, I think that's after. I think she does summon him. That's where all that. I'm trying to think where the. Because the couple try to scare them with the whole, the song and dance thing. They're not scared. But I don't remember.
Because remember, she says she recognizes. She's like, "You're the snake." Like she recognizes.
Was it from the book or something like that? I don't remember.
I don't.
Yeah.
I just remember it's like it wasn't explained very well. It just kind of seemed like it's like, oh, he's a snake. Don't worry about why he's here. Whatever the rules of this universe are.
Yeah.
Just gets summoned. Weird sandworm gibberish.
Yeah.
The world.
Yeah. I do like the whole thing with the afterworld where there's like a lot of bureaucracy around it.
Yeah.
And it's like, God damn, really, that'd be so fucking annoying.
I think that's part of what resonates with that movie because anybody who knows me knows that is literally like my hell.
Yeah.
Is like just heavy layers of bureaucracy.
Yeah.
And it's like,
didn't you read the book?
Nobody ever reads the book.
Yeah.
You only get 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. And it's like, you sit next to that guy. He's got that giant, like, 80 quadrillion number. It looks like
What's that over there?
He's got
look at
3.
that.
He throws it out. Shrinks his head. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. There's some good gags in there.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
Yeah. All right. I think that does it for this week. Got anything else?
No, that rounds it out.
Got any ideas for, like, the next cigar for the next pod?
I don't know. You can an old standby, something. What did we review last week? Padron, right?
Yeah. Yeah. 2000. Yeah.
2000. What's in that same category, man? We should review all the heavy hitters. The Buenaventura, the Tat Brown label. We just did Tatuaje though for the Halloween.
Yeah.
So it's
Illusione?
Illusion. Yeah. What's it like the 88? That's probably like a heavy hitter from them. I smoked one of those today. Always good. Or I just bought a bunch of hotels. We could do that.
Well, whatever's clever, mate.
We'll see.
Let's do Illusione.
Okay.
Let's put a pin on that one.
Something from Illusion, like one off, or see if I can get my hands on some of the Singulare and Nukes. When's the last time you had one of those?
A couple months ago.
Oh, okay.
It's been a while.
Yeah, because I thought you guys were. Oh, you did have the 2014s here for a minute.
Yes.
It was like they had 2010s and 2015s or 2019s, and I was like, yeah, those are pretty good. Pretty good. Fucking 14 is like fire, bro. So good.
Yeah.
Put a pin
Be
in
on the
it.
lookout for that one, guys.
Look out.
Yeah. Or if you have any suggestions, write us.
But no, Matt, I'm not. For the viewers.
You already said that?
Yeah, you do it for the viewers. I was like, "That's you and Diana." No, nope. You just want to hear. I think what it is he's a lot like you. So anybody who knows me for over a long arc is just like, oh, it's just like I'll just do something that'll just push David's buttons and just fucking wind him up like a wind-up toy.
Yeah.
Trying to be better about that, especially because I see it play out with some people. I'm like, oh man, do I come off like that sometimes? Where it's just like it's really easy to wind me up and like, but I assume though that people do it for their own amusement. Like, yeah, I gotta give the audience what they want. Like, you clearly want to wind me up, like you tried last week with the whole Alien is a sci-fi movie. I'm like, I'm fucking biting on that.
I try to play like super like flat, like so you wouldn't be like, oh yeah, motherfucker, let's say something.
Nope, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not getting wound up about it. Okay. Everybody knows my opinions about it. I think I wrote an essay about it one time actually.
Oh, you did. You said it on the podcast. What was I gonna say? I fucking blanked out.
I'm not smoking a swamp thing. People like to wind me up.
Oh, okay. So because I have this like bag, this like runoff bag of like all this shit from like I got from the show from 2019 from
Let's do it. Let's make our way through it.
Okay, I'll bring the bag in. I'll put it in a paper bag. You grab one, I grab one. And there's a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know what it is, or maybe I don't like it. And it's a grab bag full of shit.
Yeah.
And they're aged out.
Make a literal grab bag.
Yeah.
It's got to be a brown paper sack.
Yeah.
With the top rolled up,
Yeah.
and you have to write grab bag on it in like 4th grade lettering. Like a backward B or some shit.
Sure. Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
Yeah.
That's gonna be rough.
It's gonna be fucking rough, dude.
That's gonna be rough.
Yeah. So
but sometimes you gotta plow forward to appreciate a Nate. So
that's very true.
So
so
we're gonna plow some 4s next week,
yeah,
guys.
We'll do it. So we'll pick out the cigars before the podcast, do a little research and blend who makes it or whatever if we can. Some of them are unbanded, so I don't know what they are.
All right.
It's
Dog rockets.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah.
That could be kind of fun.
Shake it up.
Oh, fucking Cohiba shit.
Actually, like, given if they've been there that long, like, I would venture to guess that they're probably going to be worse than Cohibas even. Like, giveaway cigars that you haven't got around to smoking from the trade show last year. That's going to be rougher than probably a Cohiba, unless it's a Cohiba Red Dot.
No, they've been properly humidified and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't neglect them. For some reason, I was like, I just keep them humidified.
Yeah. Yeah, why not? Locker stuffer.
Yeah.
My locker looks full. It's full of crap, but I got stuff in there.
Yeah.
It's like having a fridge full of rotten food. Yeah, there's food in there. It's not edible food, but it's food.
Yeah, so we'll do that. I'll bring that in. That should be fun.
Yeah, insofar as that it will be unpleasant.
Like, it'll be like 5 weeks like, this is garbage, dude.
It's kind of
trash.
Got a year's worth of age on it.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, I think the paper bag probably tastes better than this thing.
It would be even funnier if it was like, this is fucking dope. What is this? It's like something you can never find again. It's got like a year age on it. It's like super good. Like, oh my god, this is so good.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right, yeah.
All right. That does it for this week, guys.
There'll be a fool beat the gobble goal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Thanks for listening to Mikey and the Press Pass podcast. Consider subscribing. You can rate and review us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, and pretty much anywhere where you can listen to podcasts. And you can also write us with any ideas, suggestions, or horrible burning criticism at mikeyandthepresspass@gmail.com. Thank you.